when your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours!
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. Why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Let's go, boys. Are you feeling that? Are we back? We're so back, dude. Let's go. Happy Wednesday. What a day, dude. It's time to start believing again. We got a banger of a stream today. 12:30, we got Aaron coming on, talking about Aeon. We're starting to see a little bit more life in the base ecosystem. We saw LeanFi yesterday just blow up. I got a lot to talk about on-chain, on the trenches side, what's going on. We're bouncing across the board in Robinhood. Bitcoin's up 6%. Are you with me? Are we back, baby? I'm telling you, people forget what it feels like to have 12 to 15% daily candles on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. We're back. This is what's going on. Going through macro too. You guys know how I feel about macro. You guys have seen my takes on Bitcoin. You see what's pinned to my profile. If you haven't, you need to watch it. We're looking good. Everything's flashing bottom. I wonder what search trends look like for Bitcoin today, if they've started to spike a little bit. Wondering what Coinbase is looking like today. Are we starting to see Coinbase chart on the App Store? Is it starting to get some more traction? I don't know. Aaron Judge at 12:30, talking through Aeon Framework. We know V4 hooks have been the big thing. I think that's going to continue to dominate as a trend and narrative on Ethereum. Truthfully, I do. It's one of the only unique primitives I've seen in a long time. I'm seeing some really, really cool stuff get spun up. Speaking of really cool stuff get spun up, we got Hooker at 1:15 after Aaron to talk through DeFi, V4 hooks, what they're building in Hooker, and maybe OXZap. I think there's 2 tokens there. Not a fan of 2 tokens. Going to voice my concerns on that, but we'll see what's up. I know he's got really deep, complex tech. It feels like he's been thinking about this vision of his, this world he sees for the future of DeFi for a long time, over 6 years now since starting his like original Zapper company. So that's gonna be huge. It's gonna be a great conversation. And then finally, we're gonna follow that up. And I see my boys in the chat. StreamYard's broken. What's going on? Not sure if there's a StreamYard or X. Twitter's been bugging too, where it's not showing our streams. So we're gonna need some help amplifying today. But I can see you guys in the chat. I got the chat pool up to the left, but I can't see you guys on my StreamYard on my screen. But shout out to Centralize or Die. Shout out Shaw. Shout out my boy Rambo. Y'all boys came with some energy today. I appreciate y'all in the chat. Even though I can't see it or pop it up on screen today, I'm going to be reading it from the left side. That being said, what the Centralizer Dies here for, I know he's been hyped for this, is 215. We got our boy Canelo Capital, not Canelo, however you pronounce it. We got our boy Bunny. We'll just call him Bunny. We got our boy Bunny coming on to talk Claw Pump, Claw. More importantly, though, we're talking Ansem. We're talking the Ansem Hackathon. Of course, we know Claw Pump's going to be working behind the scenes. We know Easy A is working on that. We know, I think Squire and the team over there is going to be stepping in and helping out. So we're going to get some more ideas today on what that hackathon is going to look like. I know you guys are always looking for opportunity and action. So how can we start positioning for it? We're going to get the full scoop. It's almost 12. It's 12:08. I'm going to try to run through some stuff because we got about 20 minutes before Aaron comes on. So let's get on chain real quick talking, boys. Let's get on chain and talking real quick. Popping up the screen. Popping up my trading view. Ooh. Oh. Look at the right side over here, guys. The pool of green. For the last year, we have been slaves to this market, bro. Beaten down, brutalized. Every time I wake up, I look at my screen, this whole side's red. Today it's green. It's a good day. I'm happy about that. Bitcoin's up 6.3%. Ethereum up 9.2%. It's ETH season. Oh my gosh, do I have to go back to my tweet talking about bottom ticking ETH? This is why it pays to be on chain, guys. This is exactly why it pays to be on chain. For a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, I would even say. For 6 years, Ethereum's been a shitter. No one cares about Ethereum. It's going to zero. Can we justify its valuation? All of a sudden, Robinhood comes out of nowhere. Vlad says, we're not creating our own layer 1. We're doing a layer 2 on Arbitrum, on EVM. And all of a sudden, Ethereum looks good again. All of a sudden, people like Ethereum again. And all of a sudden, V4 hooks start getting spun out. Okay, Uniswap's doing cool stuff with V4 hooks. Ethereum's cool again. Ethereum's up 9%. We called the bottom. We called the shift. And it's not a technical shift. It's not, okay, Ethereum hit some technical level, although it was lining up very nicely with technicals. It was a fundamental thing where somebody stepped in at cold, hard rock bottom, did something cool, life started coming back, and you could feel that palpable shift happening on chain. So it was very easy to position in Ethereum. With that said, let me see when I was talking about this. We've got a fact check. I'm not going to come on here and cap my rap whatsoever. Let's do, this is Agent Wells. Well, on-chain is feeling like early stages of generational run we saw in 2023 on ETH. Same setup. I know better than to fade this. Lock in, fam. True as ever, my friend Dominic. Let's see. July 15th. Crazy to see ETH leading majors again. This movement is completely driven by capital. Blah, blah. Yeah. Let's retweet that. Seeing signs of life on ETH again. July 15th, July 30th. Feels like a shift in progress. Probably not a bad idea to have a bag of ETH and position in leading infras like Uni. Probably true. I would maybe not position in Uniswap, but the V4 hooks are really exciting. It's just it's very high FTV still. I digress. All right, Ethereum up 9%. We're looking really, really good. Again, life coming back. Technical perspective, we have a long way to go to all-time highs. This to me, I was talking to a friend the other day on what I see when I look at Ethereum. This to me looks like the silver chart. Silver was one of my best trades back in 2020. I bought a lot of silver, bought some gold, but majority silver. And this is exactly what the setup looked like. It had a long, 1,000+ day sideways accumulation. This is 1,700 days. I think in silver's case, it's more like 2,300. And we just had a long time where smart money, sophisticated investors, long-term perspective holders, entered at these lows, and then what happened with silver is we saw a massive historical run up in silver, gold, and all commodities. I'll show you that chart for reference. I'll show you that chart for reference real quick. So this is a silver chart. This is what I was looking like. I've been marking this up since 2018, waiting for this play on silver. We got the COVID dip in 2020. Of course, safe haven assets dipping didn't make sense, so I was buying there. And then really bought a lot, the bulk of my silver position here at $20. This, to me, is resemblant of what Ethereum's been doing over the last 6 years. And so for 4,000 days, but really to low, 3,200 days, Ethereum was sideways. I mean, we had so much time sideways. And then just like it did back here, it did the same thing and had a historical run up, doing nearly, let's see, wick to wick. It did nearly 900% or 900% wick to wick. Gold, of course, similar situation where we had just this long period of sideways. I wouldn't even, I mean, you could say from here to here, I guess. 4,000 days, similar to silver, and just absolutely ripped. So that's what I'm seeing happening with crypto, specifically Ethereum. I like Ethereum a lot here. I continue to like Ethereum a lot. I continue to think Robinhood is a sticky chain, positioned and aligned. Solana, the retail chain. This looks great. I made a tweet about this the other day. Again, coincides with Bitcoin. All this is macro driven by Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's going to nuke, this goes out the window. Right. But what do we see here, guys? Compression on Solana candles. Look at the compression down here when we bottomed down Solana during 2022, 2023, late 22, early 23. Look at the compression on these candles. Does that resemble the compression we're seeing here? Come on, anybody. Hands in the comments. Yes, brother, it does. It represents, or it resembles the exact market structure we saw before the last run up we had this cycle for Solana. The only difference is Trump topped us out. Now we have amazing fundamentals. RWAs coming to Solana. Excuse me. Blockchain finding product market fit. Solana being home of retail. Ansem coming and CTOing. Stepping in at the bottom. Great timing. Great technical chart. So again, Solana looks great. Up 6.3% on the day. I'll talk about lighter here because my boy Rambo's in the comments. Yeah, Crypto Jones, XChat is not working today. I think this is an X bug because our streams have been getting very low impressions. Yeah, even now, only 100 people in here. Streams have been getting low impressions. X is bugging out right now on streams. They're just not broadcasting it. And I think the chat's broken because of it. But I have it pulled up. I'm looking at you. I'm going to talk to you guys. Just not able to pull you up on screen today. Here's lighter from my boy Rambo. He says, lighter on Ethereum. Institutions need that robust security. And you know what? I got something for you, brother. I got something for you, brother. Where do I see it? Come on. All right. Boom. Let's pull up this tweet. Let's talk lighter on Ethereum. We know Lighter is a launch partner of Robinhood, which absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. And I guess the question there was, do we think this is going to attribute, do we think Robinhood is going to attribute meaningful volume to Lighter? I think anyone with half a freaking brain could have said, yeah, obviously Lighter is going to get a lot of traction and attention from Robinhood, the most dominant retail financial platform in the world, integrating their technology. Lo and behold, we see the numbers. We see the numbers. I mean, look at August. 11th of August, we were trending, below 100 million a day. Also, volumes picking up, coinciding with like Robinhood really integrating this. We can see here Sam Schubert, good person to follow here at Blockworks. Previously, Masari, I believe, before that acquisition, said lighter volume through Robinhood Crypto is starting to take off. Lighter processed roughly 325 million of perp notional on August 15th, driven entirely, nearly all of Robinhood chains, record $350 million day. A new distribution channel is scaling quickly. Distribution. Lighter's great on its own as a front end. But if we can get Lighter in Robinhood and then blah, 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 you name it, that's where the success comes. Huge for Lighter. It made Lighter a more enticing trade than Hyperliquid, in my opinion, for a little while, just because of the growth that is associated with Robinhood. We can see the numbers, though. Yeah, $350 million notional volume on August 15th. Over 300 on August 16th. And, constantly scaling up. So there's your Lighter take. With that said, I will pull up the Lighter chart. Looks about as good as you can freaking look. Yeah, XChat is messed up, guys, but I'm gonna read it for you. Rambo says, as soon as Lighter gets U.S. perp license, it gets passed through to Robinhood. Yeah, it's huge. This will be a massive driver. Massive driver. Retail likes perps, right? Right now, traditional finance is used to options. And I know Lighter is building out an options platform, options side as well. So very bullish on Lighter. Rambo, I know you've been calling it for a while now. you came on. We talked about it. We talked about Lighter. We talked about them being a launch partner when Robinhood launched. That's when I really bought into Lighter and got pilled on it. And they continue to grow. And I think, of course, revenues continue to increase. Their price to earnings are similar to Hyperliquid. I would price in more growth for Lighter in near term, though. Hyperliquid, of course, same boat, looking really good. I think you can't complain if you're in either of these. This is a barbell situation. You don't need to buy one or the other. You can buy both and be happy and be long on perps. Geez, we're going to crack 10% by end of stream today on Ethereum. Love it. As always, Backpack, again, still like we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about Solana, what's going to run. And GM, we have our first GM on YouTube. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Of course, we can only see YouTube today because X is bugged out and being a hoe. And that's cool. But I'm going to pop up my YouTube. So if you want to comment, you want your comments to pop up, I will pop up YouTube. I can see you guys in the Twitter chat, but I can't pop it up. Just to reiterate that. I know I've said it 3 times, but I'm going to keep reiterating it because it's been a bitch. We've been so annoyed about how X is just, you know, they're frankly, they're helling us. GM and nice breakout by majors. I'm treating myself some sushi cat for lunch today. Okay, bro. I don't know what kind of sushi cat you're talking about, brother, but enjoy that. Enjoy that. Nonetheless, let's talk Solana. If macro is going to run, volumes are coming back on Solana. Actually, interestingly enough, we're talking about volumes coming back on Solana. Let me tab over to an interesting stat to kind of show something that shows this. And we've seen Pump Fund's market cap has gone up about 1.5, 2x from the bottom. There might or might not be a video of me talking about Pump Fund being a great buying opportunity on the day it bottomed, when it capitulated that final day. Might or might not. You can go and check for yourself. But Blockworks put out this tweet, narrative shift, Pump buybacks are now in the green. Pump's bought back a lot of supply at the lows. Their market is up, 150% to 200% on the day. But that's actually not crazy because they've scaled their revenues from 450K a day, 500K a day at bear market lows to now they're doing 850, 900K a day. So it makes sense. Price is up 100%, but also price to earnings haven't expanded at all. It's still pretty compressed, all things considered. So Pump's looking good. So I say that to preface, Solana volumes are coming back. If Solana volumes are coming back, what benefits the most? Okay. Let's go see some of my watch list stuff. Obviously, Pump Fund, obviously Meteora. These are very clear things. Outside of that, Jupiter. Jupiter is the main DEX aggregator on Solana. So Jupiter is going to, of course, be a leader. Fee switch is on. Chart looks great at rock bottom. Price to earnings is not amazing on Jupiter. Like it could still be lower. And I would think, potentially get into a better price to earnings and range to buy. But, if it coincides with volume, Jupiter could be getting interesting here. JTO, native perp DEX on Solana. We'll see how that goes. Again, I don't know. I'm not fully confident on this. I want it to come down. I think their revenues are not in tandem with their market cap. I think they need to start earning more or market needs to come down on this. But nonetheless, this is Solana infrastructure you need to be watching. Then Backpack. This is one of my favorites. Backpack self-reported what I saw, over $100 million in revenue in 2025. We're now seeing Backpack be the broker that's facilitating Sunrise DeFi to bring RWAs on chain. We're getting the RWA narrative. You guys have been seeing it. RWA is hot. Whatever, who's facilitating this on Solana? It's going to be Backpack. Sunrise uniquely provides one-to-one exchanges between your broker and on-chain for actual stocks, actual RWA. So if this narrative picks up, safe to say Sunrise catches a lot of flows from that. Backpack is the broker enabling it. If you guys don't understand how that relationship works, Backpack has the licenses. It is the broker. Sunrise is a Wormhole Labs product. It facilitates tokens coming from Robinhood to Solana. It facilitates tokens coming from traditional finance and IPOs to Solana. And we've seen now over $8 billion of volume traded on that. When we covered it a month or two ago, I think we were at 2 billion. So it's growing massively. So yeah, that's general macro. We'll look at Uniswap. Of course, Uniswap, main AMM and DEX on Ethereum. So if you think Ethereum's going to come back and volumes come back to Robinhood, Uniswap could be a good proxy on that. Again, price to earnings don't really add up here, but from a charting technical perspective, you could rationalize a buy. Okay, getting done with macro. Let's see what you guys are doing in the X chat here. Cup and handle for Lighter, Rambo says. Yeah, you're looking at it, brother. You're right. Crypto Jones says this feels like a scam wick to crush shorts before the real dump. Yeah, brother. You keep saying that. You've been kind of preaching this whole we get one leg lower for a long time. Who's selling? Who's selling? The catch-up trade's happening in real time right now. Okay, we've topped on equities, maybe not top, but we're all-time highs, historical run on equities, commodities, and everything under the sun. Private companies, we got Anthropic, SpaceX, OpenAI, all going to list over $1 trillion. We have the Unitree IPO, 8,000% oversubscribed. Blah blah blah. No, I don't see Bitcoin. Taking a meaningful dive lower. If we do kind of range back down to range lows, maybe even take a dip under. Okay, not expecting Bitcoin to go much below or anywhere below around these levels. And again, I talk about why in a video pinned to my Twitter account, so you guys can check it out there if you want a full breakdown on the exact reasoning why you should be bullish right now from every angle. But of course, we're following this 4-year cycle to a T, albeit a little bit sped up. As we know, 4-year cycles are starting to compress as sophisticated and smart money traders start front-running tops and bottoms. I expect the exact same thing here. There's nothing new about this chart. Search trends on Bitcoin, all-time lows. Sentiment, all-time lows. We're starting to get some life. Yeah, Bitcoin goes higher from here. Staying true to that. Been staying true to that for a while. All right, on-chain. Let's talk about it. And I got 10 minutes before Aaron comes up and enlightens us on Uniswap B4 hooks and what he's building. And maybe if Base is coming back. Base looks like it's starting to come back. All right, again, taking some time to check the chat. Even Mill Factory too. It's a giant in the making for RWAFI on Solana. Yeah, it's a cool one, man. Shout out Bob, what he's building over there at Mill Factory. Store of Value tokens had their little run up. I think MILF is one of the few that actually survived. It sounds like a meme, but it's actually an interesting primitive where there's 3 markets, 3 coins, right? There's a main coin, which is fraud, and then 2 other coins that are pretty much just volatility farms. Taxes adjust every epoch and prices disconnect largely. And that causes arbitrage to come in and bots pay fees. Fees go back to treasury. Price goes up, blah, blah, blah. This happens continuously. So let's talk on chain here. Let's talk on chain, guys. And let me know what you guys are looking at. We got 5 minutes, so I got to kind of go briefly. But once we knock out these interviews, I'll hop back on and we'll start talking on chain, what I'm looking at. There's some really good setups I like. So actually, let's start here. Solana. Start on Solana. Pump fund, obviously, up off the lows. We talked about this. This thing is nonstop up and to the right. It's becoming consensus. This probably continues. If you get a dip on Pump Fund for any reason, you probably should buy that. So Pump Fund continues its dominance, looking really good as a chart. Not much to say there. Lot to say on Meteora. Meteora volumes have been phenomenal. We got Meteora coming on tomorrow to do basically investor relations, talk about their numbers, talk about what's next, talk about everything. Meteora should look like Pump Fund, in my opinion. Meteora and Pump Fund charts should look very similar because we know Meteora fees pick up when Pump Fund picks up. If Pump Fund has a bunch of good launches, if Ansem has this launch pad, it's not really a launch pad, but call it what you want. And there's a bunch of projects running, Z500, Manlet, whatever the ones that were running yesterday. This means pools get created on Meteora to provide liquidity to these things. So Pump Fund doing well does not mean Meteora does bad. It means quite the opposite. Pump Fund doing well, more tokens launched, Meteora does well in tandem with it. So volumes increasing across the board means Meteora revenue goes up. Do we understand this? So when I tell people to bid Meteora, it is not a bid on, I love Meteora Tech, I love LPing. Like, of course I do, and we know it's good. It needs to stay good to compete, to keep this dominance. But this is very simply is volume coming back to the trenches in general? Is volume coming back to Solana? If so, Meteora will benefit. We track that. Don't mid-curve it. Meteora's at 100 million. Again, they did $120 million in revenue / profit last year. Distributed over $1.3 billion in fees. $1.3 billion in fees to LPers. Looking really good. Again, you know who caused that candle? We're not going to get into it. We go higher on Meteora. Cards. Consumer crypto looking good here. Gotcha. New primitive, potentially one of the primitives of this cycle, looking really good. Looking really, really good. Next leg up makes sense. Revenues are through the roof. Of course, they were waiting on clarity to kind of give a token some direction, but it's very clear what the team thinks about token. All value flows back to it is what Twom's pretty much said in a roundabout way, more or less. Okay. Credible looks really good. Again, trading, I think 2.5, 3x above net asset value for a company growing 30% month over month. They just processed over $1 billion. This is if you have some patience, if you have extra ammunition laying around, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to throw some change at Credible. They're doing some really cool things. Just expanded to China as well. Kodak's up 24% on the day. Was not one I expected to talk about, but with Unitree IPOing on the Chinese market and ripping, we're seeing potentially some robotics plays get a bid. Let me actually walk it back. I'm going to talk robotics in a second here, but let's walk back to Credible while I was on that topic real quick. Okay. On the topic of Credible, Connor King, great follow, by the way, great investor. He said, currently believe that Credible is one of the most mispriced assets in liquid crypto. And I believe he is. Okay. Thought he was with analytics platform. Currently believe Cred is one of the most mispriced assets in liquid crypto. And again, yesterday we saw, or last week we covered EtherFi. And everyone talking about EtherFi and how it's such a great investment and, you know, spends going up. And it's only trading 15x price to earnings. My friend, Credible's trading 3x above NAV, doing 30% month over month growth with $1 billion and $3.5 million annualized. This is the play, and you get ownership over it. No buybacks. You get complete ownership over the company. Last week, Credible crossed 1 billion in TPV 2026 year-to-date growth is 220%. They've grown 220% this year. You're going after the largest market in digital finance, building a global regulatory moat, growing insanely fast, generating real revenue, currently trading at a 3x price to share multiple. Well, I personally believe this multiple deserves to be material higher, not financial advice. And you can see their numbers here, right? $1 billion processed. They're doing 50 million a month, and they're working on scaling their infrastructure out. TA is astrology for men. Decentralize or die says, yeah, bro, TA is ridiculous. TA is ridiculous. I believe in TA. I believe in the fundamental idea of market makers needing to fill positions and orders. And I would look at a naked chart and recognize that on the chart, but I would not draw up fibs and moon signals and all that bullshit. Very simply, look for compressed prices. It's a very psychological thing. You don't have to look at all these, candlestick patterns and understand, the Elliott waves or whatever you want to call it. It's technical analysis is a psychological thing in the sense that you can see what the chart is telling you. If candlestick spreads are compressed, what does that mean? Okay, it means a lack of volume. Why is there a lack of volume? Because sellers are unwilling to sell at a level or buyers are unwilling to buy at a level. If it is not extreme deep value territory and buyers aren't able to step in and price is not able to move to the upside because that's the, path of least resistance, it'll continue to go down. And so that's why you look for a couple things, deep value territory. And once you get into deep value territory, that's checkbox number one. Checkbox number two is, do we start seeing the price action that suggests buyers are willing to step in and sellers are exhausted and not willing to sell at a discount? Okay. The chart will tell you that. You don't have to do all the TA. It's very simple. I don't do TA. I try to explain this to people all the time. If you're doing TA, do Wyckoff, right? Because that's going to show you how market makers and institutions fill orders. You can physically see it happening on the candlestick chart. So Credible is looking good, and I got to speed run this because my boy Aaron's in the waiting room here. But Credible is looking incredibly good, nonetheless. What else, real quick, before I dip? Yeah, just a quick look here on chain. Ansem. Of course, we got to talk about Ansem looking really good. Strong show of strength for Solana and the broader ecosystem. So we are liking that. And my headset just turned off. Gonna turn that back on. Cool. Yeah. Again, Kodak, and robotics kind of catching a bit. I wonder what Deus is doing. Deus up slightly on the day. Good because it's not bleeding. It was bleeding forever. I do hold Deus because it's, I think, trading at pretty much equivalent to its net asset values when we see all the other robotics SPVs basically trading multiples above their net asset values and holdings. Deus is not for some reason. And I think it's just because on-chain's been sleepy and there's been a disconnect of fundamentals on-chain for a while. CPT actually off a bounce, although just beaten to the ground. I'm not even going to talk about CPT. This has been a complete disappointment. Not going to talk about it. Going to move on. We do see some life happening on Base, which is like perfect timing because, of course, we got Aaron in the waiting room talk us through Aeon. What's going on there? Surplus is looking good. I saw LeanFi catching a really nice bounce. Outside of that, really quick look at Robinhood. CashCat, again, if you believe Robinhood's a sticky chain, every single new chain has had a leading meme go to $1 billion market cap. Solana, Base, BNB, you name it. Why would we think anything different is going to happen for Robinhood? So again, I'm not a meme guy, but you know, I am a man that can see a pattern and go with it, right? And there is a pattern here. So if you think Robinhood sticky, probably the leading meme runs on it. So 100 mil may be cheap in hindsight, especially as we go lower. Pawns leading Launchpad, no different. Why are y'all selling the Launchpad that's burned 30% of supply in the last like month or two? Don't make much sense to me. It's going to continue to dominate. We've seen the vampire attacks tried and failed. Delta, y'all know I like Delta. Y'all know I like Meteora. You know I like Delta. First liquidity provision protocol on EVM. Doing cool stuff there. Going to call it there, though. Net capital we had on the other day looking really, really good. I mean, just no dips. And of course, Hooker we have on today is candling prior to our show, which of course, guys, be careful. If something's candling like this before our show, clearly this volume's all because of MCG. There might be a sell the news or whatever it might be. I'm not saying that, but just guys, please be aware of that. Okay, I must digress. I must stop myself because my friend Aaron is in the waiting room, guys. Oh, before I do that, we got to do a little bit of housekeeping real quick, guys. If you're in the chat, I told you guys, Twitter's being weird for some reason. It's not showing the links, or it's only showing links, not showing the full episode. Okay, today it is. But let's do this, guys. You know the drill. If you're watching MTG, let's let the people know we're live. It's a great day. We're going to talk about some great things. Simply like, retweet, let people know what's going on. I told you about the schedule today. It's going to be great. And so with that said, let me tab over and just prep for my boy. Prep on real quick. All right. I'm lagging. Closing a terminal. All right, guys. We got Aaron coming on in a second. We've talked to Aeon before. We see base is starting to get some more life in the trenches. So we're always excited to hopefully catch a bottom here if we are going to see a reversal on base, even like getting Aaron's general thoughts on the base ecosystem, where we go from here. Uniswap V4 hooks are like the thing right now. Aaron is notoriously like a crack dev. I haven't heard one person say bad things about Aaron when it comes to like, working hard and being a crack dev. And so talking about V4 hooks, talking about some of the primitives, he's got some great takes on it. So we're just going to pull him up today and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Aaron, man, welcome back to the show, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me. What's up?
What's up? Not too much, dude. I'm like absolutely starting to feel, maybe too early, but starting to feel a little euphoric with the trenches coming back. Green candles are here again, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I wasn't very hooked up for the past months, but yeah, it feels like there is activity. Like every day there is a new runner. So I mean, yeah, that's cool. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
No, I've seen you put out some tweets recently on your thoughts on stock pairings, Uniswap V4 hooks, and I texted you back when V4 hooks were originally popping off, and I'm like, dude, we got to get, Aaron, he's a guy that knows all about this stuff. We got to get him on to just talk through V4 hooks, talk through what he sees like a world of V4 hooks looking like, and then how you're integrating them into Aeon. So I just kind of want to talk through that. For those that are unfamiliar with yourself or Aeon, what you're building, I would love for you to give a quick introduction to help people familiarize yourself with you. And real quick before that, guys, I want to shout out our sponsors, MetaDAO. If you're looking to raise money, they raised $45 million for founders. You get true ownership as a holder of these tokens. It's a great protocol and platform to check out, so make sure you do so. Aaron, with that, please give us a quick background on yourself and Aeon, and we can get into a little bit more on what you're thinking.
Yeah. Just posting. Yeah, so basically Aeon is a new kind of AI framework which is focused on background intelligence and basically having an agent that runs not like one time when you push your buttons on Cloud Code or whatever, but something that works for a week, for a month, for how long you want it, and self-evolve and adapt based on the real conditions. So it's a framework I've been building for the past 6 months now. We've got real good traction on a lot of different verticals. Our biggest one is security. We use it to secure a lot of open source software from SpaceX, from Vercel, from a lot of different companies. And so I have this framework, which is open source. and I'm currently working on like dogfooding the product and building some instances that are interesting and that showcase like what's the product about and what kind of new thing it could enable. One that will interest you is the Aeon on-chain, which is related to the hooks. So it's basically, you can think of it as a closed code instance that runs every few times a day, that grabs information from a few different skills and basically create new stuff based on this information. So to give you like a concrete example, for the UniV4 hooks, the setup when we started to build it was basically it listened to my X feed, what people have been chatting about around UniV4 hooks. It grabs some ideas, it tries to rank them. After that, it builds the hook on its own every few times a day. So the hook is live on Aeon, but mostly on a testnet. And it also audits it. It updates the website to list the hook. And basically, it's a few different workflows that you connect and that make the agent not just something a human like invoke, but something that works autonomously and is able to be like an autonomous like deployer or whatever you want to make it.
That's interesting. I want to cover more Aeon on chain, but like even generally walking it back a little bit and talking about what you're building at Aeon, it feels like when there are these protocols or crypto projects that launch and they have all these different things they're tapping into, it's very hard to like centralize focus on what their mission is or what their goal is. We have seen Jensen Huang, CEO, founder of NVIDIA, talk about how like the next big thing is product software studios, just creating what people want and spinning up a bunch of different iterations of different things. Is that kind of the mindset you take when thinking about Aeon and like what you're building next or what you're currently focused on?
Yeah, so everyone in the AI space and more generally also in crypto for a while have been building like shovels for people to mine gold. We are really trying to apply AI and crypto to build products and to solve real problems. So we try to take a new approach on automation and how we can basically build new capabilities that are self-evolving using the software. So as I said, we are dogfooding on a few different categories. We are trying to, like, I think last time I spoke about that with you, we were like really early on the kind of products that can be built with Aeon. Right now we have like a more clear view of like the most interesting one, which are mostly like compute, being able to resell your compute, being able to share your compute with some people, the security one, the on-chain one, and a few more centered about software and self-evolving software. So all of this run on Aeon. And in terms of like your question, I guess, was more about like the market pricing and how we can like manage to make it understandable for people. Honestly, it's work in progress. We try to showcase everything we've been building, and when we have like the killer use case we are able to showcase, we will like double down on it.
Yeah, I think when there is like a myriad of different product offerings, some of the best ways to just like see what's going on is talk about the numbers a little bit. Do you have any stats or numbers you could share with us today about how many users you have, how many, clicks you're having towards websites, or whatever you kind of attribute a lot of, I guess, your growth and success to?
Yeah, so I posted a tweet recently saying that our main product is not the framework, it's what's being achieved by the framework. So in terms of like growth and like traction and KPI and stuff like this, it's pretty hard to tell because it's open source and we don't use any telemetry. We have seen like big crypto projects building on top of Aeon to build like node projects and basically integration from background agents. the real KPI we want to share is how much tokens are being consumed, which is in the order of billions every week on Aeon, and the number of repo that we have been securing autonomously with Aeon, which is 2.2 million stars secured across a lot of different repos.
2.2 million stars is like unfathomably huge. I don't think people realize that. Like,
yeah, and it's like big companies, like it's not just random like star chasing. It's Alibaba, it's SpaceX. So we try to be like very broad, and we also started to audit like smart contracts. So we posted some bug bounty on Binance, on OpenSea, and Uniswap recently.
okay, wait, and these are the cumulative stars of people you're working with, or
the repos that have been secured by Aeon, which is like critical, high, medium, like mostly severity.
so I'm not entirely familiar with like how to secure a repo, why that's important. Could you give me just a brief like overview of and I think there's a lot of non-technical people here as well. So like why
Yeah.
would someone want your service to secure their repo, and how are you going about finding these clients?
Okay, yeah. So it's a big deep dive, and I want to state that it's not the main use case of Aeon, but it's one that really showcases the possibilities. So right now we are tackling open source, so people like create their projects. Most of the time they have some issue in terms of security when people use it. It can be like data exfiltration. It could be basically like a database that is not secured. Lots of different issue. What we do is we run an Aeon on all these repos that basically audit the repo using our skill and find the issue, and we issue a PVR, which is like a public vulnerability reports to the maintainer that basically say there is this issue, you need to solve it that way, and they can like merge and accept it. So it's one part of that. Also the interesting part about Aeon is how self-evolving it is. So for example, some of them are not really reachable on GitHub, so we need to send an email. We need to reach them out on X. The big mission here is to secure open source and to show that the product works for a lot of different use cases. So we grab the data and we self-evolve the skill based on the outputs, so the self-evolving parts. And at the end of the day, what we want to sell to companies is like a continuous audit system, which is something that exists right now, but is like a few million for companies to do it. We want to do it open source, and after that, make it more software as a service. And basically how it works is that every time, like every day, there is a new audit of your smart contract, of your software, and you have a way to see what's happening really in terms of security using AI and using Aeon.
Okay, this is interesting. So I want to kind of understand the economics about this security. And I know I don't want to sit here and talk about security all day, but I want to understand the economics because very impressive who you're working with. You seem to have found some really good traction there. Is this open source? Are you guys, is the Aeon company making money off of this? Like anything you could share from the economic side?
Yeah. So our vulnerability scanner skill is open source. Our audit skill for smart contracts is not open source yet. And in terms of revenue, we have two ways we want to do it. One, we are starting to submit them is bug bounty. We have seen a company recently winning, I think, a few millions for a bug bounty in crypto. So it's something that we want to do. Like there is Cantina, Uniswap, which have a very big prize pool. So basically having the agent submit that, find issues on audits. And just to clarify once again, the economics of Aeon, we buy back the token with 50% of the revenue all the time, and it's like written in the legal rights of Aeon. So there is no rug risk or or buyback, going back to equities thing, similar to VVV. So that's something we want to do. And the second part is something that takes more time, but software as a service, where people sign up, they pay a subscription, and we run Aeon in real time on their GitHub instance.
Okay, so you guys are doing 50% buybacks. I think people are starting to understand Aeon here is a myriad of different products. You guys are working on iterating and finding product market fit. Security, compute, on-chain have been your three biggest factors. I want to ask, on Base, there hasn't really been an option like this. I know we have Umia coming soon, but we see things like MetaDAO, and I know Star you were a judge on, I think one of Adam's panels over there at Star. So you've seen this ownership structure, and you mentioned here you kind of have built your own ownership structure where in the contract, legally 50% is going to buybacks. Although this is somewhat off-chain revenue, have you considered an ownership structure so it kind of resonates more with people, or how do you think about this in general?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this space. I've spoke with MetaDAO, I spoke with MetaLex and like Umia and everyone pretty much in the industry. As you said, on Base, it's not really developed yet. And for us, because we had live tokens, it's pretty hard to rug everyone and move to a new ownership system. Right. We've tried a few different setups, but yeah, honestly, nothing was really good for our system. But I'm really bullish on MetaDAO, on what they are doing, and I think it's really important for the industry because there is this big issue between off-chain and on-chain, and it's really important, I think, for this industry to be able to capture value off-chain and being able to bring it back on-chain, because we can't just build Launchpad all the time and take fees and buy back the token, and at the end of the day there is no fresh money coming into the pool.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about what's really hot right now, which is these Uniswap V4 hooks. You guys are obviously doing a lot of thinking in this general direction. I even have a tweet here from you that I want to pull up and kind of talk through that I think goes through some of your thoughts. You put this tweet out on August 18th. You said stock pairings for token launches are game-changing, but not in the way you think. Most stock paired tokens right now are memes. A meme coin paired with NVIDIA is arbitrary good memes for a few days, but that's all. A startup paired with NVIDIA isn't. Investors get sector beta plus team execution in one liquid position. And if you're building AI infra, your costs are priced off NVIDIA. Raising is USDC means you're short your own input costs for 2 years. Raising in NVIDIA means runway that hedges itself. Bullish on that vertical. And I don't know if you guys are building something for this specifically, but we're seeing this proliferation of stock pairing tokens. We're seeing it happen on Solana with Stonks. We're seeing it happen on Robinhood with Long XYZ. And it's become a very cool narrative and a conversation piece. Maybe just talk me through, I guess, your general thoughts here. And is Aeon thinking about iterating in this vertical?
Stock paired vertical, not really. But on the V4 hooks vertical, definitely. We are supporting everything that is innovative for crypto and that is bringing new use case. So we started to build this V4 hooks automation. We've worked with a few different partners to see where we can integrate them. And more generally, I think there is thanks to Robinhood, there is a new interest into new kind of way we can deploy coins and pair them, which is really interesting. So yeah, we try to keep up on that and see where Aeon fits.
So talk to me about this. Your technology, a lot of it on chain wise, is probably on EVM, since that's where you guys are you're on Base. Base, we saw the whole drama with Base going on, Kobe kind of taking over the on-chain, optics or whatever. What's going through your mind at this point? You have a token on Base, the entire ecosystem's bleeding. Now, as of today and a couple of days ago, we started to see some life come back to it, come back to RWAs, come back to Base. But what's going through your mind at this point? Are you thinking maybe I migrate to Robinhood? We see a lot of stuff going on Robinhood. Maybe we just build for Robinhood and keep a coin on Base. It's very complex. So I'm just curious to get where your head's at during this whole saga.
Yeah, so the whole structure of Aeon is designed to not chase like the narrative and being able to build safely and in the long run. Like we don't need to have our coin go to 20 million tomorrow to keep building. We can like keep building for the next year. We have like runaway, and like we are not dependent of the market. So we can take decisions in a longer time frame than most fair launch token, I would say. For us, like the equation is really simple. We think that Base have lots of issue and defaults, but they are also the only chain on the EVM matching that's basically worked for the past 3 years, that created like big success, Aerodrome, lots of Base native projects. So we try to focus on that. I don't think it will be in the long run, and we have started to see like Robinhood getting down quite a lot for the past few weeks. So yeah, we are pretty confident. We don't need to chase the narrative, and we think that in terms of EVM ecosystem, Base is still the best place to build long-term project like that.
Okay, I actually didn't even realize you had is that an Aeon cap you have on?
Yep.
That's sick. You got the Aeon merch. RJ actually in the chat is asking as well, are you drinking Wendy's coffee? And I guess my next question would be, how do you like Wendy's? Is it an S tier? Is it an S tier restaurant? Do you like Wendy's?
Yeah, just easy for me to go. Yeah, I mean it's all right.
So you like Wendy's nuts are in your mouth?
Yeah.
No, sorry about that. Just trolling. Nonetheless, okay. So talking through Uniswap V4 hooks, we see this innovation happening quite a bit on the V4 hook side. You said you're very interested on it. What are you guys building specifically, or what do you foresee a world looking like with V4 hooks? I mean, for example, we're seeing a lot of innovation around people can buy into one token and get distributed into a basket of other tokens. I think that's very basic on the broader level. Something like our following guest is Hooker, which you are using liquidity pools for things outside of just swaps. Maybe you can use it for lending and borrowing, use it for leverage. We're seeing people create V4 hooks to work as MEV bots. And like, we're starting to see really cool innovation spin out of this V4 hook narrative. When you look at V4 hooks, like, what are the bounds of how far we can push this?
Yeah, so really large. I don't know if you saw, I think it's F-Launch that built a game system where you're able to ape on token. Did you saw that?
Flaunch?
Yeah.
Repeat that one more time.
It's like a game system where basically for the first 5 minutes, you need to play a game to get token.
I did see it. This is the one with like the bow and arrow where you're shooting it at. Okay.
Yeah, and they built an hackathon around that. So I think that's pretty cool. Generally, I think that this industry works when stuff is unknown, which means that you need to bring like new innovation. Right now, the trenches are solved. People know how everything works. They go to FOMO, they buy for 5 minutes, they sell it, and they move to the next thing. They are interested by new stuff. That's why stuff like Nets or FWA are working so well, because it's the new design space. So we try to focus on that. So we are not sure about distribution yet, because we have a live token and we don't want to build a launchpad for the sake of building a launchpad.
Right.
Everyone does that, and we want to do it better. But we want to build new hooks. We want to build new experience around the token creation, and we want Aeon to basically bring all of that together in a simple way, so they can like innovate and ship new stuff autonomously over time.
So is this the core focus right now internally, working on V4 hooks and iterating, or are you guys just kind of spread across the security, the compute, all the above?
Yeah, we pretty much do everything at once. So I would say it's probably like 20%. 20% is around security, 20 is around like managing the token, the community. 20 is about like maintaining the framework, and 20 is around like adding new skills, adding new partnership, and like implementing like better framework.
Yeah, I mean, even with this, it seems like there's so much you guys are doing. It takes a bit of a village to keep this system and protocol up and running. How many people are contributing right now to the Aeon? I don't know, just the mission.
Yeah, so we are 2 full-time. We recently hired 2 part-time, and there is like 7 Aeon instances that also help us. So for example, all the vulnerability stuff, I don't do anything. Sometimes I maintain it every few days if there is like the need for it. But it's basically like find the vulnerabilities, it update the website, and it does all of that for like autonomously, which means that we try to scale most of the stuff by building new Aeon instead of just hiring and trying to build a routine around that.
Got you. And I also want to talk a bit about this compute. We saw, man, there was like a pocket, I would call it 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, where everybody, maybe even a little further, where everybody and their mom was building a compute product. Sell your compute, rent your compute, compute's the new oil. Like that was, I mean, that was the tale as old as time back then. How are you guys thinking about that right now? I mean, obviously we see compute is like a very interesting industry. There's going to be markets for compute in the future. Like there's so much happening around it. Maybe just tell me broadly how you guys see compute and are positioning for, you know, a business model there.
Yeah, so in terms of AI positioning, we are really trying to do arbitrage on top of existing subscription. So basically, we are bullish on the fact that Anthropic and OpenAI will keep subsidizing the subscription, and we need to take advantage of that for the next 1 or 2 years. We have seen like literally today OpenAI cutting costs of their flagship model 50%. So I think that's really like telling what's happening on their side. So we try to arbitrage that. So we have 2 positioning. One is enabling Aeon to resell the compute from your existing subscription, and being able to let people use your Aeon using another Aeon. And the second part is being able to translate compute into real task that is useful for people. So for example, we think about bounty market, we think about audits, how you are able to convert your $200 subscription on cloud into $400 of task that you solve, which is another angle that we're interested about, and we started to build some prototype.
Got you. Okay, let's start gearing towards roadmap here as we wrap up. I mean, you talked me through some of the products you're offering, and maybe we missed anything. If you want to cover it, feel free to. But what are you guys focused on right now internally? You have the 2 new hires that are part-time, you know, the current team of 2, and you guys are just, I guess, all hands on deck. What comes next? What are you guys most focused on?
So we recently worked on audits. So I'll do the list very quickly. Audits, on-chain instance, being able to deploy hooks and audit those hooks recursively. The third thing, we will start to do the buybacks using the 2 revenue generating path we have right now for Aeon. The fourth will be being able to use Aeon for compute. We started to do that, but not really publicly yet. And I guess the fifth one will be around self-evolving software. It's more like for B2B companies, but it's basically like how you can set up your Aeon and self-evolve the website every time there is an error, every time like a user is not happy with something. So basically, being able to improve the website, better SEO, etc.
So question on a lot of the software you're building, I think we're starting to see a lot of people say like there is no moat in software. Now with AI and technology advancing and how quick people are moving, you know, maybe there's no moat in software. What's your response to somebody that maybe has that concern?
They are right. There is no moat on software. I think the moat is really about building the software that is self-evolving and updates based on your competitors' move, updates based on how the market moves. So we try to automate all of that to make like software really self-evolving and not just having someone typing on Cloud Code. For us, the moat is really happening when the cost of software is literally zero, which is not right now. Most of the people that say like there is no moat anymore are people on SF that are paid 400K a month, which is like very, very expensive for free software. So yeah, we try to automate that. And we also try to show people how much can be done autonomously by AI. It's not just like software. It's not just like a website, but you can do like even tweeting and doing some stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we even see Robinhood making such a, Vlad and Robinhood specifically, making such a massive push towards agentic trading. And I mean, I think we're starting to get to the point where agentic software is becoming extremely feasible. And I think we see a lot more of it soon. What do you think about just the future of agentic finance and agentic solutions in general, where agents are really taking care of a lot of this heavy lifting and just providing these solutions?
Do you mean like for trading or
No, not even trading yet. Not even trading specifically, just generally. I think like I'm trying to gauge direction of like this future where agents are just extremely intertwined in our life and doing all sorts of the hard tasks, tasks we don't want to do. Maybe it is trading, maybe it is all these different things, but like how powerful are agents going to be? And like, when can we start expecting these agents to be meaningfully used in everyone's like daily workflow?
Yeah. So agents are already being used quite a lot. I think the hard issue is about taste and how we can like let agents interface with the internet without being slop all the time. So I think the self-evolving part is really important about that, because you basically ingest some of your taste and some of your guts into the product and into the agents. That's really, I will say, the big challenge we have at Aeon is being able to ingest all of that. We built 2 standards, which are strategy.md, which enable you to specify a goal for your Aeon. For example, I want more subscribers on Twitter. I want to do it that way. And the second standard is a modified soul.md, which have like a better profile on what you have done on the internet, what tweets you could have made on Twitter. And so both of these standards are used on Aeon, and we try to use it to have better outputs when the agent creates stuff. Instead of just creating like a random website with all the like purple website that we have seen for the past few years, trying to ingest more of what you will build like on your own directly into the software. So you need personal data, and you also need like an iteration flow where you are able to tell the agent if something is crap or if something is right.
Makes sense. It's an interesting future. I'm excited for it. Aaron, I think this has been a pleasure. I think we covered a lot of what we wanted to, got some updates about Aeon, how you guys are looking. I guess maybe I'll just close this with where we started on this future of software that Jensen Huang keeps talking about. It's building these product suites and iterating and finding product market fit wherever you can. Maybe close us off on your vision here and where you guys go next with Aeon.
Yeah. As I said, we want to build the best framework to ship stuff autonomously. We have tons of ideas, so that's good. We have time to build it. So yeah, I mean, just I hope people will keep like seeing what we ship all the days, and we are really excited to see like how the crypto industry more generally is able to build like new startup around the AI space and around like tackling real problems outside of crypto.
Absolutely. Aaron, always a pleasure. You're a crack dev. Everyone says it. You guys are crushing. So keep it up. Where can people follow, watch for updates, and make sure they're tapped in with Aeon and everything you guys are building?
Yeah, Aeon Framework on X or my profile, Aaron J. Morse.
Beautiful. All right, Aaron, talk soon. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, see you.
Peace. All right, y'all heard it, bro. That was Aeon. Got a lot of websites here in the background, so try not to lag too much. But great interview. I mean, they're crushing. Again, I kind of kept going back to that Jensen Huang comment that he made about building these software companies where it's kind of just a suite and you build out all sorts of different products and find product market fit and grow with it. So great conversation. We got about 8 minutes till Hooker comes on. So we'll just take a little second, guys, read through the chat, see what's going on. But that was a solid number one, boys. Solid number one. Frank, thanks for having Aeon team on. You're welcome. Yeah, boys. Hooker. What's going on? HEY, Vivo. How we doing? Yes, you know, Crypto Jones. Crypto Jones says the Wendy's nuts joke killed the momentum of the of the combo. I was you know, I was on the edge, but like, dude, when the opportunity presents itself, he was drinking a Wendy's coffee, and you know, everyone knows the good old Wendy's nuts in your mouth joke. So nonetheless, that's very cool. Let's see what I got. Want to touch on a few things here before we have our next guest on. So let's see. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but Coinbase put out this tweet the other day, and I think this is risky business here. Risky business. He goes, they tweet, plumbers versus trenchers gave us an idea. Old versus new traders in a live in-person trading competition. We'll put up the funds, host the event, and stream it. Back your talk. Who should we invite? Dude. On paper, this sounds great, right? It sounds fun. We're inviting the OGs. We got the new traders, the cupsies, the guys that are in the trenches, you know, the RNGs of this world trading. Awesome. We're uniting everybody. The issue here is the copy trading and amount of like volatility that this is going to bring to like micro caps and low caps is going to be just absurd. Like there would be so much manipulation. I don't know if manipulation is the right word, right? Because it's just people live trading, and then obviously the market's going to do what the market does. But like, this would not be a good idea. Like this would just end badly, right? Can we agree on that? Can we agree on that? So, yeah, I don't know. I saw this Coinbase thing. I'm like, maybe they shouldn't do this, you know, whatever. There was this great article from Vlad that I said it's a great article. I haven't really read through it yet, to be completely honest, but I want to read through it after our interviews today, and just talk about it and, you know, like the direction he sees everything heading. With that being said, I have a tweet here to tee up our next interview, and we got 5 minutes. So I want to read through this tweet and kind of give you some of my thinking, because I'm excited for this interview, guys. I'm really excited for Hooker. And no doubt we're gonna have to discuss that name a little bit here and the thinking process behind that. But great tweet here from a Jaleo, who has been a Hooker supporter for a while now. He goes, to get a sense of who Nodar is, of course, this is the founder of Hooker. He found Zapper back in the day, Zapper5. He says, to get a sense of who Nodar is and what he's shipping with OX Zaps, you first need to understand what a Zap actually is. And of course, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here on this interview. Think of OX Zap as Zapper 2.0, built for the agentic era. Let's first rewind to 2019. Nodar entered the Kyber hackathon with a clear mission: abstract away the friction of using DeFi. His own solution was Zaps, smart contracts that bundle complex, multi-step actions in a single seamless transaction. Does anyone know what that sounds like? This is 2019. Today, it's 2026, and this sounds exactly like V4 hooks. You know, you can see him breaking it down here in his original tweet. Uniswap even gave Nodar a shout out for his early work on the Unipool Zap. So this guy, respected OG, the Uniswap people like him. Think of a Zap like this. If you want to enter a yield position, you have to, 1, swap half of a token A for token B on a DEX. Approve token A for the LP contract, approve token B for the LP contracts, add liquidity to receive LP tokens, stake those LPs into a vault, and start earning yields. That's 5 separate transactions. A Zap condenses all 5 into a single click. Within 2 years, 150 Zaps had routed over $10 billion across DeFi protocols. That momentum led Nodar to co-found Zapper. By 2021, Zapper raised $16.5 million across the seed, backed by Coinbase Ventures and Delphi Digital, and a Series A backed by Mark Cuban, Framework Ventures, and Sound Ventures. Not so bad. That's not a bad cap table right there. At its peak, Zapper powered over 2 million month of active users and 13 billion in volume before sunsetting in July 2026. A valiant run. Now Nodar is launching Open Zaps on Robinhood, reimagining Zaps for AI agents. And really, I want to talk about Hooker here, actually, more so. While most projects are busy handling wallets over to agents, OpenZaps takes the opposite bet. Agents should execute on DeFi workflows without ever holding direct key custody or discretionary control of your wallets. Not going to finish that out, but I think that kind of gives you a good background on Nodar and who's going to be speaking with us today. With this note, I want to set the stage a bit. And Nodar here, if you're good to go, I can pull you up whenever we can get started. So just give me a thumbs up or a private chat message, and we can pull you up in a second. But to cue this up, man, I was looking through Robinhood, looking for trades, of course, BDing to get people on the show. And V4 hooks are very exciting. I was very early on being excited for V4 hooks. Someone like Nodar has been like the true OG who's been excited for V4 hooks. But I remember we had Prism on months ago to talk about their primitive and how they were using V4 hooks. And I kind of landed on like, man, V4 hooks can be really, really cool and unique. Maybe this isn't the end game or exact example, but it's very, very cool. So that kind of got me started on, looking into V4 hooks. And Nodar made a very interesting tweet that caught my attention. And that is right here. And it's from the Hooker account. And it was this idea of leveraged hooks. And so I want to kind of simplify this because this is about to be a pretty complex conversation if I had to guess. I want to simplify this for everybody. When you think of liquidity pools, what is a liquidity pool? Right? Very simple. Liquidity pool is a pool of money. One native asset, the token, and then whatever it's paired against, USDC, Solana, Ethereum, whatever. Okay. Liquidity pools are no different than banks. Right? What is a bank? A bank, you go put your money in your checkings account, savings account, whatever, and a bank holds this pool of money. Now, the bank has mastered how to maximize the value of this money, right? They take this money and they lend it out. They take this money and make investments. They take this money and put it in T-bills, right? So this money is working for the banks. And then you get like a very, very small cut, pennies on the dollar streamlined to your bank account. That's how banks work. Banks are glorified liquidity pools. So currently, the state of liquidity pools are to use a liquidity pool. They have one function only. That is facilitating swaps. I put money up. If you want to swap your US dollars into Ansem token, you pay US dollars into the liquidity pool. It gives you Ansem token out of the liquidity pool. Very simple. Vice versa. I want to sell my Ansem token. I get Solana out of the liquidity pool. Okay. That's the only thing liquidity pools can do right now. Nodar has this vision where it's like we have these pools of money. We have liquidity providers willing to offer more money if their yield is economically viable. Why can't we do more with our liquidity pools? And this is the concept. This is the idea that got me like really hooked on Hooker. And so having this conversation of like, how can liquidity pools be used for more than just swaps? Can we facilitate lending? Can we facilitate leverage? Like, what are the upper bounds of what we can do with liquidity pools if we have this pool of money and their yield opportunities are just untapped into? And I think that's the conversation I want to have. So guys, before I pull out Nodar, I want to thank our sponsor, MetaDAO. It's the best place to raise money. They've raised over $45 million. They're doing something completely unique, and they're giving holders true ownership in tokens. We've seen time and time again. You can hold tokens, believe in a project, but they come with no true ownership. And when they get acquired, when they make a lot of money and exit, whatever it might be, holders are left holding the bag with nothing. MetaDAO changes that. Guys, without further ado, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Nodar coming up to talk us through V4 hooks, DeFi, where we stand today, and of course, Hooker and Zaps. Nodar, we appreciate you coming up, man. How are you doing?
Man, thanks for the intro. I think you guys are giving me way too much praise. Well, what I really do is just, take existing concepts and kind of try to remix them and combine them and compose with them to get something interesting out. So, but thank you for the intro. Yeah.
Of course. Well, we're excited to kind of see what kind of interesting things you're spinning out of this. you're a DeFi OG. You've been clearly thinking about this for a long time. You had a previous company. I want you to start us at the top so people can get to know you, and then we can get into the projects you're working on. Can you kind of give us just some background so we can understand, who Nodar is?
Yeah, I guess the way I got started in crypto was, first one of my friends kept recommending me buy some, I think at that time it was called Ant shares before it was called Neo. And, I was really not looking into it until I just kind of made an investment, and then that investment made a good return. So that's when I, as usual, kind of people started looking into it, like what's going on here. And at first, as soon as I looked in, like the whole concept of proof of work really interested me, and I actually started mining Ethereum. It wasn't a lot; like I had a couple of GPUs that I kind of just smashed together, and just to see how it works under the hood, as you would say. So that really led me to kind of being deep in the ground with kind of like the Ethereum community and kind of the things that were coming out, like all the DeFi stuff right in the beginning. And I was just making like DeFi tutorials about the things that are coming out, like Uniswap and Compound and all the kind of early on DeFi projects. And that kind of led me to, the whole concept of Zaps. I saw that there's just more and more DeFi protocols coming out, and people are interacting with them using different UIs and, a whole bunch of transactions in between. So, I started just literally saw a hackathon because I have no coding background. That was my issue in the beginning, right? So I have my accounting, my background is in accounting. But I really had no coding background. So I was just looking for a developer. I just found somebody on Discord, and we hacked together like the original DeFi Zap, which would, like you were kind of mentioning, like put the liquidity in the pool in one transaction. But what really got us on the map, and actually Hayden invited us to their office because I also live in Brooklyn. Now I live in Jersey, but I used to live in Brooklyn. And what really got us on the map were these things called leverage liquidity pools. So what we would do is basically take your input, whatever, 1 ETH, and put half of it into a liquidity pool, and the other half we put into it was called back in the day Fulcrum protocol, which would allow you to tokenize your leverage positions. So essentially what people would hate back in the day is when you do become a liquidity provider, you split liquidity into two, right? So people most of the time wanted to get exposure to the token that's in the pool, not ETH. So what this allowed you to do is essentially become a liquidity provider in the, say, ETH USDC pool, while having a full exposure to the ETH, right? And what that did is it eliminated your impermanent loss on the way up, but it doubled it on the way down. So, just those kinds of combinations, really executing them atomically in one trade, kind of made a new financial instrument, you could say. So, that was pretty cool, because I feel like that's what. That's what like Uniswap team themselves are kind of like thinking about, how to like utilize pools in more ways. So, So after that, like I partnered up with a team at DeFi Snap, Seb, and they were basically like the UI of everything, what happens to your money once you become a liquidity provider or stick your money in some other DeFi protocols. So we merged together, and that's what became known as Zapper. Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive background. Like, clearly, I mean, we see so many people come and go with volume and fly-by-night projects, but clearly you've been thinking about DeFi and this concept around Zaps for a long time now. Would you say this concept around Zaps is pretty much what a V4 hook ended up becoming?
Definitely like part of it, yeah. But also, hooks are specific to liquidity pools, right? So it's the rules around the liquidity pools themselves. So I guess you could say it's part of it. But yeah, definitely with V4 hooks, I've been saying they're very underutilized, and happy to see that, especially recently, like people really started experimenting with them in cool ways.
Yes, and I want to talk about experimentation a little bit because you put out a tweet here that I think got me kind of excited. So I'll pull it up on the screen here. You said, these hooks really reignited my urge to compose in DeFi. Leveraged hooks enable pool native borrowing directly against the pool's own liquidity. No separate lending market. The pool itself is the collateral engine. Contracts are written, not live yet, going through repeated rounds of adversarial audits before this touches mainnet, which is great. Separately, locking hook, blah, blah. That's a different topic. With that being said, though, you mentioned something very interesting here, which is what I hung my hat up. And this is what actually got me to read the quote tweet here, which is like a longer breakdown of what leverage hooks actually are. But I saw this and it instantly started, my mind started spinning. Okay, we have our current iteration of liquidity pools where it just facilitates swaps, but you're almost introducing a new concept where it's like, we have this pool of existing money. Why can we not use it for more? Maybe walk me through, I guess, your vision there, and then we can even get into what a leveraged hook is and break it down.
No, yeah, for sure. Exactly. It's kind of like, because of these rules that the V4 hooks introduce, you can essentially start putting in additional rules that enable perhaps, like you said, like pool native borrowing once certain thresholds or risk parameters are reached. So like one of the first things we're doing is, like you will be able to essentially borrow any accrued fees that come from the pool itself, right? So the pool fees will be borrowable. That's the first safest introduction of this, right? So basically, you could say, this is our kind of launch plan is. And this is actually what I was going to ask at the end. Is kind of like to DM me if you're interested. But we're trying to organize a token launch where, like the first, say, 10 million in volume, right? The hook will track all the buys and sells that you do. So anytime you do a swap, a hook will also mint you these non-transferable like hooker credit or hooker debit tokens. And then basically at the end, the snapshot is taken, and then whoever has essentially like the highest, credit points, you could say, gets to borrow first if they want to. And the borrow limit is limited at all the fees that have been accrued from swaps up until that point in the pool, right? So you can think of it as like something that's something that's only will be enabled after a certain like threshold, a certain activity is reached.
So rather than like launching a token and having all the fees streamlined to the pockets of a team, it would get accumulated up until a certain threshold or a certain point. And then that accumulation called $100,000 now will be available to be borrowed by, whoever may want to borrow.
Exactly. Once that's kind of safely, out in the market and battle tested, you could say, we could also enable that further, right? If kind of that liquidity proves positive for the liquidity providers, because you could think of it as a separate pot of, it could still be creator owned, but we're actually going to make it probably like hooker staker owned. Where basically you get to share all the revenue, right, that comes from the lending activities, right? Like I said, once that's battle tested, we could open up like the further liquidity from the pool itself, right? And like you said, invite additional liquidity providers to add liquidity as long as they attach that, to the same hook, because it's kind of like one of the things we wanted to, because like you actually also mentioned it in your previous stream. I was watching it where you said like, you thought of it right away as like another token launch pad. So we're kind of reframing ourselves as like a hook launch pad, right? That you could attach to either new token launches or existing tokens, right? Of course, the problem with existing tokens that are already out and trading, you have to create a new pool that this new hook is going to, because you can't attach a new hook to an existing pool, obviously.
Okay.
So yeah, it's our focus to kind of allow people to supercharge their token offering, even if their token is already out, right? Because you could kind of galvanize the community around the new liquidity pool that allows, this native lending of their own token. So yeah.
So, okay, so we've covered the lending side. Essentially, iteration number one is going to be token launches. Fees go to, fees are accrued, and then those fees can be borrowed. What does the risk engine look like on this? Obviously, with borrowing or lending, there has to be borrowing or lending or leverage. There has to be a pretty robust risk engine on the back end to ensure that, liquidity providers are safe and they're always getting paid back on their investment. Are you building out the risk engine? You're clearly doing audits right now, but how do you make sure that's like foolproof?
Yeah, exactly. So the way this first iteration, guarantees like all the, you could say, liquidations is the depth of the pool, right? Like like your borrowing will always be limited to that. So you'll never be able to borrow something where your borrowed funds can essentially, collapse the pool below everyone else's liquidation. So the hook actually doesn't contain all the like credit logic. It actually connects to and reads from another contract that records all of these, accounts receivables, you could say. So yeah, it's if you're coming in doing a regular swap, the hook processes it exactly like you would normally do, tapping into a pool. But if you are coming in, trying to borrow, the hook first makes sure that all the parameters are met. You're able to borrow the amount that you're setting to borrow, and essentially records it on another ledger, you could say. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, so that's for the lending. Another thing that was interesting was the leverage, and you put up this great example, and it's a very long article, and again, like a lot to wrap your head around. But you put up this great example of Alice and how she could buy 2 ETH worth of equity in Node and get 4 ETH worth of exposure. Could you maybe walk me through how now I can use native liquidity pools to actually add leverage to any token?
Well, to any token, you can't do it to any token. Like I said, if you want to do it to like an existing token, you would have to create like a new liquidity pool. But from the start, we're confining it to like the new launches that happen, and where all the liquidity is concentrated in that one pool that you're launching from, right? So it's like this new token launch that, there's very defined risk parameters, because all the liquidity starts from this one pool that everyone trades from. And the leverage only gets enabled when certain parameters, like we spoke about, are reached. But in a way, you could say, like, when you're tapping into the pool, when you're buying, like in my example, you're coming in with only 2 ETH worth of collateral, you could say. The proceeds that you're getting back, they're not like transferable, right? So you're not able to borrow the funds and take them somewhere else. You could think of it as like the same thing as with when you borrow on like Aave, and when you provide collateral and you borrow against it, you can't then transfer that collateral out of your wallet, right? Like you can only transfer up until a certain point, right?
Right.
So it's the same. You could think it's the same concept here, where you could only do one thing with borrowed funds, and then that's buying the token from the same pool, and you can't do anything with borrowed funds besides later selling them to that same pool.
Why has no one done this yet? Like, what's changed in the recent year, days, months, weeks that has been like, okay, this is finally applicable. We can actually finally build this out. Like, why is this not currently a thing? Because it feels like every liquidity pool should be, accessible.
Honestly, so it's the same thing I asked myself when I was like kind of creating Zaps back in the day. I was like kind of surprised nobody has done that before. So it's really a matter of what I realized, that everything about spaces are all about timing. You gotta you could launch the same thing just 6 months apart, and it will work, right? So
completely different outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. So and I see it like time and time again in that space. So I think again, right now, definitely a lot more experimentation, a lot more attention on V4 hooks. I feel like definitely a lot of people are building out lots of interesting things, because just like you can track all the activity for the first 10 million volume, like we said, you could do like what you guys were saying, like you have to like play a game, right, in order to do a swap. So there could be a bunch of like, I mean, the field is like wide open to what kind of rules you can create before making a swap, right? So I imagine people definitely will, continue this experimentation, and that's what we want to do too. Like, right, like in the sense that these initial hook blocks that we introduce are kind of like the basics. It's nothing new, but we definitely want to continue like keeping pushing the boundaries of this. And like I said, like what I really love doing is working on the ground with the builders and like really seeing what kind of incentive mechanisms they want to set up with their launch, right? Because you could attach this to, like I said, to an existing token, and I'd love to build like that's like next on my list is kind of building that infrastructure out to allow the existing tokens that are out there, right, that are kind of maybe even like losing attention, right, to kind of reignite their volume, the liquidity, the attention around them.
Yeah, let's even talk about this a little bit. If you want to attach this, and I think, okay, maybe I'll even walk it back a little bit. I think it's very interesting to attach this to an existing token. I think that's where like there's a lot of massive tokens out there with a lot of mind share and market share that people would love to borrow, lend, and leverage against. Creating a launch pad, it's difficult. It's convoluted. Everybody's doing it. It's hard to get attention. How do you think about that? Do you want to compete in the launch pad game? Would you rather just compete in creating these hooks that can be attached to pre-existing markets? Like, how are you thinking about this in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like I definitely we're repositioning ourselves to be like the hook launch pad, not the token launch pad, right? So, especially once we like right now, you could only create hooks and attach them to new tokens. But once we open up the ability to attach them to existing ones, which would of course require you again to create a new liquidity pool and kind of galvanize the community around it, I think like 100% positioning ourselves as more of ability to supercharge your tokens, right?
Got you. And what do some of those steps look like? You mentioned, creating a new liquidity pool and galvanizing the token community around it. Number one, are you planning to, I guess, integrate with like the ponds, with the uni pools? Like, are you planning to integrate with a lot of existing launch pads to have your V4 hook launchpad / marketplace be available, or not so
that
much?
would be actually really cool. Exactly. Like that would be cool, because if you think about it, also all these new hooks that are getting launched, right? They don't show up. Like if you try to make a trade on Uniswap's UI, like my next step is to get them verified and on the list of like verified, hooks. So every time you launch through us, like a new hook, it's showing up for the ability to do swaps on like the Uniswap UI itself. And I mean, like attaching ourselves within the UI of the launch pads themselves would be like the ultimate goal. Absolutely. Because then think about it, it's getting exposure to all the launches, and it's kind of like them adding it on as a feature, like to supercharge their token offering. Exactly.
Yes, I think that's the end goal. We're seeing a lot of consumer crypto do this, to where they build out cool infrastructure on the back end and they pretty much just find distribution partners to white label that technology.
That's exactly what made Zaps have the biggest volume itself. Like the leverage liquidity pools was a great concept that invited us to the Uniswap like labs office. But what got us the most volume was integrating Zaps with Yearn. I don't know if you remember back in the day.
Yeah.
Andre was like an incredible person. Like I was building alongside him. He was like giving a lot of praise to Zaps, and he ended up using them as a backend to when he's like reshuffling the liquidity from one borrowing like lending or borrowing opportunity to another. He was using Zaps, and that's what got us the billions in volume. And this is these kinds of integrations that like you said, like will get you the most usage.
Have you started to have those discussions and conversations, or is that still maybe priority number 2?
I'm starting to have those conversations, because I realize like it's gonna come with a good amount of planning and work around it. But definitely the main focus right now is like getting as much of these hook blocks out as possible from the experimentation, and really tying in the Hooker token utility around the usage and around more experimentation to kind of put more fuel on the fire.
Got you. In additional conversation about BD, we talked about BD in terms of going to these launch pads that have distribution, have the activity, have the launches, and integrating your technology there. Okay, that's step number one. Number two, we want to start to integrate on top of existing pools. And you mentioned galvanizing that community. What does that process look like? Of course, it feels like a slowly than all at once thing where it takes a little bit of time, groundwork to get the first guy to do it. But if you can prove this concept, then you have 2, 3, 4, 5 million come after. How do you go about that process?
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of projects that launch and set aside some token supply right at launch for like whatever it is, the creator supply or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like going after those folks first and saying, hey, you could put this supply to good use by creating this new liquidity pool that would allow leverage borrowing or whatever else they might want to add on. So I feel like those types of creators projects would be the first good use case, because they have that liquidity. They don't want to obviously perhaps just sell it on the market or something. This is a good use case for their liquidity that's sitting on the side for teams that have that.
Got you. You also mentioned verifying your hooks on Uniswap. How difficult is that to do? I mean, you clearly have some relationships with the Uniswap team or have in the past. What does that process look like?
Yeah, exactly. So once we get our contracts like finalized, we'll have a chat with them and see if there's anything else that we need to do to get them verified. But yeah, basically it's a matter of getting the final version, because as we're doing testing, we're like I said, like we want to define the first version of these leverage hooks as much as possible to mitigate risk as much as possible, to make sure that all the liquidations are guaranteed. So yeah, it's I think by the end of this week we're definitely going to be sending those over for like the final verification with them, and I'll put out like I do want like what I kind of big takeaway I got from from the last stream when you mentioned this is like coming up with like a really cool like Eli 5 like demo to walk people through and make sure they're able to grasp the concepts. Because there's one thing I realized also in our space is like, yeah, even if you have like something really cool, if it sounds like too complicated, nobody's gonna use it, right?
Yeah.
So like simplicity is also the key. Like it's definitely gonna be something around that.
There's beauty in simplicity, and I've tried to like think about this concept and iterate around like what the messaging is. And I've talked to friends about Hooker, and I've talked about it on the show, and people still have this barrier of understanding it. I think I've come to a solution that like framing it like a bank helps people understand like banks are liquidity pools, but banks are doing this, this, and this really well. Liquidity pools are not. We're solving for that. I think that's like a really good explainer. Have you thought internally about how we can simplify this and make it easy for everybody to understand and like what that message would be?
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way of putting it, right? Really, because I feel like just my goal in the space has always been to like liquidity coordination, right? And that's what this helps you do, right? It kind of coordinate liquidity in a very efficient way that solves all the community kind of needs, you could say. Yeah.
Got you. Also curious, who's working on this? I mean, it seems like a pretty big undertaking. We talked about like, you got these audits ongoing right now. You're expecting to kind of have something here by the end of the week to be maybe rolling. Is it just you behind the scenes working on this? You got to do BD, you got to do all this different stuff. What does the team look like?
It is mainly me. My brother is helping me manage the community and stuff like that. And I also have previous developer I worked with in the past, Daniil. But really, like I said in the beginning, like back in the day, the coding was kind of like my limit, and Andre was like my AI agent back in the day. Like I would literally just spin an idea in front of him, like we would talk about it, and then he just wouldn't go to sleep for 2 days and come back to me with like a ready contract. So it was like right now that for me are, Claude and Codex, right? So definitely use those a lot, and yeah, it's been incredible building, especially in the last few months as these models really progressed.
Yeah, could we maybe talk about timeline a little bit as well? You mentioned here the contracts are written; they're just not live yet. But you're going through repeat rounds of adversarial audits before this touches mainnet. What does the audit process look like, and is everything pretty much ready to go here once you get the green check marks?
Yeah, so the audit process is like we're using doing a lot of simulations to define this MVP, like this V1 version where everything gets tracked properly by the hook. The snapshot gets taken at the end of the parameter requirement, and then all the leverage activity that's happening after is maximized to a specific price. So it's really about defining these parameters that are within the ready contracts to get them to the optimal state for this initial launch, right? So yeah.
Got it. What about updates on the Hooker X account? We saw you guys had the X account compromised.
That's what I should have started out with, man. Yeah, like honestly, like yeah, I created like a new email for this Hooker account, right? And I even signed up for the premium business account, right? So I was waiting for an answer, and I log into to my like email account because they said they would send me an email if they need like any more questions. And there's like no other emails. There's no spam email. It's like a brand new email. But this one email from X was obviously a spam fucking email. I clicked on it, and yeah, I immediately got like, hey, you got a new password, and then 2FA changed, which I didn't add in the beginning. That was my big mistake. So I submitted multiple queries already to X. I've been waiting since Friday. I'm not sure. I'm at this point, like I said, I was gonna create one by the end of the day on Monday, and I did get some handles, but yeah, it's also people taking handles that have anything around the hooker right now. So it's pretty annoying. And then the guy, whoever did this, they DM'd me from the account like, "Yo, bro, 2,000 to get." I was like, "Bro, go fuck yourself." Sorry, but
we're hacking people for $2,000. I'm surprised he actually even asked for that little. 2,000 is like nothing in the grand scheme of things.
I was like, bro.
Well, that's brutal. So I guess next steps on that are like you're just waiting to hear back from X, potentially spinning up a new account. Obviously, for those listening, don't interact.
I think I'll put a post about it like with the new account right now, and then basically if we do get that one back, we will just revert to that one. Like, yeah, it never happened to me. It's so weird.
Yeah, so people should be just following the Nodar account right now for any updates.
Yeah, Nodar J.
Okay, you put out this tweet here in anticipation of this show. Actually, this is not the tweet. This is a tweet. You said tune in Wednesday at 1:15 to talk on MCG Live. What am I seeing here on the screen? You said what's coming next. So I want to talk through a bit about what's coming next, where you're at currently in development, and what am I looking at here on the screen?
Yeah, so this is basically how when you do the leverage trading on a platform, this is how we'll track. Because remember, when you're borrowing, right, you don't want to push the price up with your borrowed proceeds, right? Like the spot price of the actual token, because that would artificially pump it, and then obviously you could create you could like suck out the liquidity that way, right? Like basically. So this is why there's like a separate price, right, that tracks the price once people are buying it on leverage, right? So that's what this demonstrates. Yeah,
it's like when you go to weigh something, you weigh the basket it's in first, and then you put in the items, the proceeds or whatever you want to call it, and then you subtract the basket's weight from it, and that's how you get your
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's a good. You're really good at making analogies, man.
You know, you got to try to make things digestible here on the show, but I appreciate
No,
it.
for
Okay.
sure, for sure. And then, like I said, I'm gonna put out like a working demo with dummy numbers so that people could like click around and like actually see how the balances of the pool like move around as like certain activity happens with like sliders and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I think that would make it a lot more understandable for people. And like I said, like I'm organizing a launch for once this for the like the initial token that this would be available for. So if you're a project that's like interested in something like this, like definitely reach out.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the borrowing. I actually think I'm more excited about the leverage. We know meme coin traders and people that like to
Yeah,
trade low caps are like they're degenerates, frankly, right? And so
exactly.
they
Yeah.
want leverage on this stuff. Can you maybe talk me through the leverage side of these hooks? We haven't really touched too much on that.
So just I mean the leverage side uh, is the borrowing that happens from the pool, and you're just buying more of that token. That's what creates the leverage, right? And that's what like I realized like yeah in our space. I think somebody mentioned it before in your show that yeah like you want to enable more speculative tools because that's what people are doing, right? They're speculating a lot. So this
Yeah.
allows them to like speculate more, obviously, on assets that they wouldn't be able to get like leverage elsewhere, obviously, right? So yeah,
I think I want to help that resonate with people. Like, there's nowhere else you can get leverage to these assets. You know, if you want to go, I mean, Anthem's probably a bad example because I think it's on Hyperliquid now, right? But if you actually want to, or maybe it's not, but if you want to go leverage long on Anthem, for example, or any other lower cap coin, you simply can't do that. With this built-in liquidity mechanism, you can go leverage long on anything on chain as long as it's got this hook on top of it. Am I accurate in saying that?
exactly. So like the existing ones, the existing tokens, if they like launch a new pool, attach this new hook, they get certain activity built up, and they can enable leverage trading, right? And of course, it will be limited to the activity of that pool, so you won't be able to open up millions in positions right away. But as things get built up, who knows? It's kind of like the same thing as like in the beginning there were all these assets, but they didn't have any trading venues unless they got listed on like one of these
Coinbase or
exchanges, right? So it's the same
sketchy.
concept here, hopefully. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think that's really fascinating. With that being said, like, what are the incentives for LPs to come on top of this? We know currently, like, LPs are very incentivized when there's a lot of volume in the market to put up
Exactly.
liquidity, and they get swap fees from doing so. What's the incentive for LPs to come up and say, "Hey, use my money to borrow"?
Exactly. So this is why exactly we want to prove the concept with these initial, right, like initial LPs where we only use the fees. And then once we prove that you could get a significant return from this type of activity, that's what's going to invite the liquidity providers, right? That's that they always gravitate. The liquidity always gravitates towards like the best ROI, right? So if you have a proven ground where the liquidity can be provided in a safe way, right, where you don't get like liquidity stuck because of liquidations, right, which is number one thing that kills all these kind of lending protocols. Then the liquidity providers will just lock in, right? Especially as you see more and more communities kind of galvanizing, like I said, their own little liquidity pools for their own leverage trading. They'll be onboarding and inviting the liquidity providers from their side.
Got you. And I'm kind of curious as to what the interface of this is going to look like, because each of these websites aren't going to be there. Like Hyperliquid, you can go leverage long on positions. Is Hooker going to provide the interface that shows all positions that you can go and use leverage on or borrow against?
Of course, yeah, and we have to, because like I said, otherwise if you're doing just a regular swap, you'll always be doing a regular swap, right? Like you'll need to send additional data with your swap, you could say, when you're doing this. So yeah, definitely. And at first it's going to be for new token launches. So all the UI will be on our side. It's once we enable stuff for the existing tokens, that's when we can, open it up for more like deeper integrations into other like UIs and stuff like that.
So this is also really interesting. We talked about how, you kind of have two sides to this equation. We talked about the BD on how can we integrate a bunch of launch pads and basically white label our tech on the back end. So if I want to launch on Pawns, I can click on this hook from the hook marketplace or whatever that you guys have created and have it with my launch, right? Meet the people where they're at. On the other side, we need to meet the liquidity providers where they're at. Have you thought about how you guys are going to integrate onto things like maybe a Uniswap, or maybe we know Delta's doing liquidity provision on EVM, or maybe even a Meteora, who's a presenting partner of the show. Again, two sides to the BD. How do you feel about the liquidity provider side and making sure that's available on distribution platforms outside of just Hooker?
Yeah, for sure. So I see it happening like in phases, and once we have these couple of first successful launches, prove ourselves with positive ROIs and safety, we can integrate the launches themselves into the pads and other liquidity providers, and then eventually, have the liquidity providers join in for additional liquidity, because that really, you could say like that would be a requirement for existing tokens or like new tokens that are launched that are now going into this really growth phase where they do need like additional liquidity providers, right? So it's definitely a very viable and interesting pathway for us. So definitely look forward to kind of seeing how it plays out, one step at a time. But yeah, definitely having continued discussions with these platforms, and maybe in the beginning what we could also enable is kind of have a little check mark where you could launch through like other launch pads. But you see, the problem is when you do that, when you're the launch pad is creating that liquidity pool. So it would be a matter of attaching your hook to that liquidity pool, and it will be a matter of editing that process with that launch pad, right? So because that's really important, right? So because you can't attach a new hook to an existing pool. That's obviously the one key.
Very much a lot of white gloving going on here. I guess kind of when I want to start gearing towards wrap, on this. But let's talk about Flywheel. What does the Flywheel look like? You have the Hooker token, I believe the OX Zaps token, and that was one of my big concerns here. I haven't really seen a successful two token system ever. And I know they kind of complement each other in some ways, but walk me through why you have two tokens and then like the Flywheel that draws some of this value you're talking about, potentially in theory, providing back to these tokens.
Yeah, for sure. So like, one thing is I've been, experimenting in the space and trying to see, obviously what sticks, what users actually want ultimately. And, with the Zaps, Zero Zaps is like you kind of mentioned, is the Zaps 2.0. I see a lot of activity around, agentic stuff, and not even, you could say like a lot of times not even agentic stuff, but a lot of the human stuff too, where you want to always define your actions in the DeFi space, right? Like you don't want to create ambiguity in everything that you're doing, especially like the repetitive stuff, right? So if it's something that involves you going on multiple interfaces, doing multiple transactions, every time you're opening yourself up to some kind of vulnerability, right? Like you click one wrong link, like my case on example, and you're done. So really, the Zero Zaps is something that I'm setting up as being the plumbing for everything that involves with trading on our UI and setting up perhaps stuff like limit orders or like DCAs, something that people do repetitively, or buys based on like certain triggers, right? So I see that being used as an underlying plumbing for all the activity that happens under the hood for the Hooker protocol itself, and just anyone who wants to like integrate those as a good use case example. So yeah, it's something that I've been working on before Hooker, and really through that and kind of like some of the usages, when I started conceptualizing the whole Hooker concept and seeing seeing it did need a different protocol token, especially because we decided to launch on Uniswap as it launched their own launchpad, because we wanted to take advantage of that and basically create a community around that. So that really helped out, and that's what put us on the map a lot.
Okay, so we got the OX Zaps token. What's the value accrual to that token? Why would someone want to hold it?
Yeah, so right now the basically when you set up these recurring tasks using Zaps, so something that buy every day or buy based on certain triggers or like limit buys and stuff, they get executed by like the Zap providers, and essentially all the people who stake, they get like fees from that, right? So right now it's not much because the activity, as you could imagine, there's not a lot of plumbing that's built out into the live system yet. So once that's proliferated, I think is definitely going to be something that's definitely viable for stakers. Right now, what I'm doing in addition, though, while that happens, is because I launched this Xerox Zaps on Clanker, and that's one of the mistakes I made early on. Actually, like last year, I really went all in on the Clanker, and we built we tokenized their creator fees, right? So instead of being just one recipient, we tokenized that into a vault, and then all the token holders of that vault had claims to the fees. So we're doing lots of cool stuff, but unfortunately Clanker, as I'm sure you saw, didn't go anywhere. And so what we did for Xerox Zaps is we tokenized the fees, and now the stakers, where I'm launching these campaigns where you could stake the token and then get a portion of the fees that are generated from swaps. There's a 1% swap fee on all the swaps that happen. So that gets distributed to everyone who stakes, because the vault essentially distributes them to all the token holders of the tokenized shares. And then I put the tokenized shares in the staking pool for all the stakers to proportionally earn. Hopefully.
So this is an example of what V4 hooks could be used for, right? In this case, it's okay. We have transaction fees from a new launch. Maybe they're pretty high in the first 7 days or whatever, because the launch is fresh, lots of volume. You can now stake your token and get proportionally pro-rata distributed a piece of the fees earned.
Exactly. So when I create these campaigns, what I set up is the duration, right? And the amount of these tokenized shares that I put in. So I have like 100 tokenized shares. If I put in 50 of them, that means 50% of all the swap fees will now go to all the stakers of that staking pool that I just created for the next like week or a month, whatever I set it up for. And because it was like there's like really a few stakers, they were able to earn as much as they did, you could say, right? Because it was
Got you.
maybe 10, 12 stakers. Yeah.
Right. So the gains were outsized. With that said, maybe in one line, just to kind of put a bow on OX Zaps, because I'm trying to see, what is OX Zaps versus what is Hooker? In one line, how would you explain OX Zaps to somebody inquiring about it?
So OX Zaps would be agentic plumbing for well-defined, safe DeFi actions.
Reoccurring DeFi actions. Got you. And then maybe talking about Hooker a little bit, what is Hooker in contrast to OX Zaps?
Hooker is a hook launchpad that allows you to build custom new hooks and attach them to new tokens or existing tokens. And they use 0x Zaps, the Zaps themselves, for all the rebalancing that happens in the background as plumbing.
I see. Okay. So, it makes sense now how they both kind of work together. Now talk me through the value accrual to the Hooker token.
Yeah, so we have a lot planned out, and I'm definitely also taking a lot into account what the community has to say, right? Because, like I said, like I definitely want to set up incentives in a way where for that's proper for each phase. Like right now, in the current phase, right, we want to kind of galvanize the community around this, for, first successful leverage hook launch, right? So, kind of setting up a hook that allows you to earn those points, and then perhaps those points can convert to you owning part of the share of the fees that will be generated from the lending or from that pot. So another thing we recently kind of updated on our UI as well is you're able to lock your hooker tokens with each launch, and kind of like the more you lock, the higher you would show up on the list. So yeah, it's what everyone is doing right now is kind of like using the revenue to buy back and burn. That's another thing we're going to be doing once the leverage fees start generating from that side. And yeah, like really using more incentives for the builders themselves that end up having successful launches. So like once you pass like certain thresholds, I definitely see the rewards like for the creators themselves, because that's what we want to attract right now, right? Like kind of, especially as we do attach this to your existing token, right? Like and if you have successfully built up liquidity with that hook, it's something that we definitely want to incentivize.
Yep. Very cool. I think this is all interesting stuff. I think we covered, for the most part, everything I wanted to touch on. If there's anything I missed, feel free to jump in and share that. I think happy to help with these relationships as well and connect you with some of these launch pads. I think we're in a pretty unique time where it's opportune for you to build these relationships, because every launch pad is trying to make the next version of their launch pad that's going to outcompete the other one on Robinhood. So if that's enabling some sort of hook and something that's never been made available before, I think they're very motivated to do so. So excited for that. Maybe talk me through roadmap, closing thoughts here. Like what comes next for you guys? What are you most focused on? Leave the people with something they can be excited about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like you said, like what most people are excited about is definitely like enabling this leverage. So that's what I'm like. The more I work on it myself, the more excited I am to release it, because I think it's gonna slap. It's gonna be something that's new. It's something for people to experiment with. So definitely that's my number one thing right now, is to kind of obviously like releasing that, and then immediately after working on attaching it to existing tokens, because I think that's what makes us really stand out more, because right now you do have to like launch a new token. So in a way it is a competition against all these other launch pads, which is what I want to go away from. It's kind of like what made DeFi back in the day, is like the more you integrated with others and worked with others, the more successful you were, and the more you were trying to like compete and trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to do everything yourself, the less successful you ended up being. So
Right.
Definitely I'd love to get the intros and get the conversations going, because that's something that has to be happening in the background as this goes along.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's two-pronged. I think it's the launch pads and the distribution front ends for the people launching, as well as the like where are the liquidity providers going to provide liquidity and earn yields. And happy to kind of make some connections on both sides there. But cool.
Thanks
Great conversation.
me, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Looking forward to it. Any partnerships? I mean, you mentioned there's a lot of partners that you want to work with, and you want to get back to this return to like working together and these synergies. Any partners you can mention that you're talking to or working with on kind of taking this to the next level?
Well, the main one would be like the Uniswap, because that's where we want to verify our hooks through. That's like the number one venue. So right now, yeah, that's our number one priority.
And you have or at least a pre-existing relationship with the Uniswap team. You launched on their launchpad pools, pools.trade or whatever it is. Yep. Are you guys in constant communication or current communication, or is this just something you're looking to do here in the future?
Well, we're in communication, and like I said, we're they're like waiting for me to finalize me these hook contracts and send the final parameters around there. Yeah.
And what would that look like? I mean, hooks getting verified on Uniswap, obviously number one, but would it be, again, a Launchpad integration with them, or what would the partnership maybe entail?
No, well, it's basically to get when you get your hook. It's like right now when you launch like a new hook, right? Like when you deploy a new hook, it doesn't just automatically show up on Uniswap's UI. So when you try to make a trade that taps into the pool that you create around that new hook, it's going to show you no routes available, right? So that's the first step, is to have these hooks show up in that main Uniswap UI for swaps.
I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. All right, very cool. Well, you're the man with a plan. It seems like you're taking exactly the same vision you took with Zappify back in the day and kind of bringing it here and using a lot of those strategies and learnings to maybe make lightning strike twice. So, yeah, we're excited.
That's a good way of putting it. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. This was a good way to get the ideas out.
Cool. We'll talk some more, and looking forward to what you guys spin up. See you, Nodar.
Thank you, man.
All right, boys. That was Hooker. Yeah, again, like I think Hooker's very, very cool in theory. It's like a big task to pull off because it's completely reinventing liquidity pools as we know them. We know liquidity pools one way right now, and that's to facilitate swaps. And Nodar's basically saying we need to rethink liquidity pools completely, and it's a big undertaking, right? Because you can't just seamlessly integrate this into all the current liquidity pools and boom, every project has leverage and can enable borrowing. It's not that easy. You have to kind of launch with this hook, or you have to integrate the hook and bootstrap liquidity from other places, which is much more difficult to do. I think that's the biggest limiting factor. The two tokens can be a little tricky as well, but for the most part, I think just like we're in this season right now where novel concepts in DeFi are really starting to see success. We saw, V4 hooks do really well on mainnet. We saw V4 hooks do really well on Robinhood. And so I think a lot of people are looking for the next V4 hooks play. And this seems to be one of the more advanced ones that I've seen. So again, in line with the narrative, very cool concept. I think he's got the partnerships and relations, of course, connections to make this happen. And it's very much so, I think, going to be slowly then all at once kind of thing, right? Can we get the first integration into another launch pad? Can we white label our product on the back end everywhere? Can we get people using it and borrowing and lending and, using leverage positions, showing how viable this product is? First couple examples are going to take some time, but if we can get that, the ball can really get rolling. There's a big educational piece to it. It's not easy to understand, but the concept is really freaking cool. Really freaking cool. So, all right, that was Hooker. Guys, in about 5 minutes, we have our final guest on. We got Bunny coming on from Clawpump to talk a little bit more about this guy, the Ansem Hackathon that we're working on here. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of excitement around that. So they're coming on in a second. Let's see what the chat's got to say about Hooker, guys. What do you guys think? Hooker integrated with our Launchpad is what I was hoping to hear. That will be massive. Yeah. That's going to be the biggest thing. I don't think you compete as a Launchpad right now. You can have cool, unique tech, novel tech. It's just attracting deployers is very difficult when there's a sea of options. So I agree with you, Espresso. Hooker integrating with other Launchpads is going to be like the distribution that they're seeking. And I think they can. And I say I think they can because I know every single Launchpad right now is quickly scrambling, number one, to copy the other Launchpads on what they're doing successfully. And number two, get an edge and upper hand and like we can offer something you can't. And I think Hooker is going to have this large list of different hooks you can implement into your Launchpad. And if they can get on the back end and say, look pools, look pawns, look long XYZ, you guys have a lot of volume, you guys have people trying to do cool stuff on your Launchpad, give them more optionality. Let them do these really cool, unique primitives, novel technology. And I think like that's 100% their distribution angle, 100% their distribution angle. Go to where the people are and meet them there. Right. Bart, definitely key is integrating with other Launchpads. Yep. Just tough that at this point you have to launch a new token. Yeah, it would be, man, if this could just integrate into pre-existing tokens without having to spin up a new LP and all that stuff, would be amazing, seamless. It is that's the friction point is we have to create new liquidity around pre-existing tokens, or you have to launch a new token to actually integrate these. But I'll say this. We're early on in the Robinhood life cycle, very early on. About a month ago when Robinhood launched, or 2 months ago, however long it's been, like there was a lot of fly-by-night people who launched projects that had no longevity, no shelf life. What's happening now, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months into the life cycle of Robinhood, is the real builders that saw Robinhood chain launch and have been building or integrating, iterating for a long time and have a product ready to go. Those products are going to start becoming readily available, and they're going to start launching here in the near future. So Robinhood's at that stage where we had the initial run up, we've kind of cooled off a little bit, but now round 2 is okay. Actual builders who are now on Robinhood or building a vision that aligns with Robinhood are now going to start coming into the ecosystem. So there is a wave too that I do think we see. So launching new tokens and having this offering, I think it can happen. Other comments. The concept is super cool. Agreed. Excited to hear more about Claw Pump. Me and Bart hopping in the hackathon. Remember the names. Okay, there we go. Moonshot. ST says he has OG connections, which can be an edge. Of course, in a big way. What do I think are the limitations of V4 Hook? Crypto Jones, that's what's so interesting. Like, man, there's really no limitations. Because V4 Hooks, like we heard from the Prism guys say, it's simply an if-then conversation. If this happens, then you do this, right? So if I buy this token, it goes in, in the case of like a basket of assets. If I buy one token, I get automatically bought into 7 other tokens or whatever, based on weighted averages and whatever. So it's if-thens. If I hit a target on a bow and arrow game, I get paid out in tokens. So the limitations are really endless. If I go leverage long, I have 2x exposure or whatever, and I get liquidated at these certain levels. So there's really no limitation to V4 Hooks, which is why it's so exciting, and why I think if you're active right now, you're going to see a lot of people spin up really unique, creative things for it. So that's why I think we're going to probably get a continued V4 Hook season, because it is kind of bringing back that OG DeFi nature. And yeah, I think we get a lot of really cool, unique primitives around it. Even the other day, I saw someone building, I think it's WTH, right? What the Hook, who's coming on next week. They're building out like a V4 Hook MEV primitive and protocol. So there's like every time someone buys and sells, there's this slight price discrepancy that gets MEV'd out. They've created a V4 Hook to take away that MEVing activity and actually do it natively. It kind of goes over my head. I still got to read more into it, but like, yeah, to answer your question, Crypto Jones, no limitations to the V4 Hooks. Just takes time, one, to launch and to really prove concept. I agree. It's going to take time, but I do think we're going to see a lot of V4 Hook projects run based off their unique ideas that they're bringing to the market. Like there's 2 sides to it. We see the revenue meta where it's like, okay, you're a great business with great price to earnings. You're Pump Fund, you're Meteora, you're Lighter, you're Hyperliquid. On the other hand, I think we're going to see, oh, this is a novel DeFi concept and primitive. We're going to bid it up, even if they have no token economics. If it's going to take a long time to build out. And I think we're going to see the latter with V4 Hooks, where it's like, oh, he's building something cool with V4 Hooks. We're going to bid it up on the concept, on the storyline, on the innovation, rather than like, oh, does he have great price to earnings right now? Well, probably not. And I tend to think that's what happens with Hooker, of course, until they meaningfully start to make revenue. So bit of my thesis there. Akai says Claw Pump is going to start the Solana utility season. Pump Fund fumbled their BIP hackathon because they are too rich to care. Ansem has every incentive to push utility plays for the Ansem eco. Yeah, Ansem's done a great job really supporting that eco, man. I can't lie. This hackathon is going to be fun to see what spins up out of it. I really want to see more tokens launched against Ansem pairings. I think that's going to be pretty cool. Bullish on stonks, by the way. And I disagree with the notion that I think actually the BIP hackathon for Pump Fund was incredibly successful. I think they selected some great products and protocols. And they helped them a lot on the like really bringing their business to life side. I don't know if the token represented that as meaningfully as it should have. That's the only thing. Let me text Bunny and just see what's up, because Claw Pump should be joining up here shortly, and I got a few things to go over after this as well that are just cool and exciting happening on chain. We'll talk plays as well. I think Stonks actually had a great dip here. I wonder what we're looking at now. Yeah, 4.004. Yeah, $4 million market cap for Stonk. I still don't understand why this is dipping so much, but let me see. Good to go. Yeah, guys, and I wish I could pop your comments up on the screen here, but like I said, Twitter's been bugging these last couple days for streams in general. They're not coming through on StreamYard. They're not getting distributed on the algorithm right now, which is peculiar, but it is what it is. While we wait for Bunny, I'll go through some things. I'll go through some things. Let's talk LeanFi. So I'm actually going to show you my chart here. LeanFi. Oh, I spelled it wrong. L-I-E. L-I-E. Jeez Louise. I'm an idiot. Okay. We had LeanFi on a little while ago, and we're starting to see this RWA narrative kind of pick up. And I need to share my screen. All right. Here, I'll pop down here. We're starting to see this RWA narrative kind of pick up and take shape. LeanFi, of course, got followed by Kobe, as well as I believe there was 100K buys coming from a Coinbase wallet account. So people were assuming maybe there's a listing coming for LeanFi or something along those lines. But this is up. Chart's looking really nice. They're doing something really cool with selling, liens, property liens, tax liens, whatever it is. And I think it's really cool for RWA as a whole. It seems even a bit ahead of its time. I'm not going to lie. But trading at 14 million, I think it hit 15 the other day. It's nice to see some life coming back to base. And it's really nice to see RWAs take shape. So LeanFi is looking good. If you guys haven't catch that episode that we recorded on MCG a while back with this team, because it was really, really cool. So yeah, I got my boy Bunny in the waiting room. I'm going to pop up some content real quick on the screen. And I'll pull my boy up. All right. All right. Yeah, LeanFi sick, bro. It's a sick RWA. It's democratizing and decentralizing your ability to, participate in a very difficult industry that not a lot of people have access to. Too small for investment banks, too niche for investment banks and a lot of institutions, but extremely valuable for people like us that want to earn 12, 13% yield on a tax lien. So looking at LeanFi, it's really interesting what they're doing. With that being said, guys, we talked a little bit about this Claw Pump hackathon that's going on. We talked about the Ansem hackathon that's ongoing. Lots of cool partners joining together to make this happen. Bunny really took an initiative to work with Ansem, to work with a lot of people on bringing this to life. And so we're starting to see it finally come to life. And Bunny's going to come on here and give you guys the alpha on what you should be paying attention to, what you should be doing, how you can participate, rules, regulations. We're going to get the full scoop here so we understand the Ansem hackathon that's coming up right now. I want to remind you before getting to the segment, if you're looking to raise money, no better place than MetaDAO. Already $45 million raised for founders. And traders are starting to realize it's the best place to get exposure because of the ownership nature you have in these companies. You actually get upside, you actually get ownership, and no one else is doing something like this. So they've been doing heavy lifting legwork for the last year to prove out the model, and MetaDAO, man, is crushing beyond a doubt. With that being said, guys, let's get Bunny up here to talk the Ansem hackathon. Some really cool stuff going on with that. Bunny, my boy, welcome back to the show.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
It's going well, dude. You've been hard at work. I'm in these chats with you and the entire crew, and I just see you're putting in work, spinning up websites, coordinating everything. There's a lot of people in the chat right now that are excited for this. Largely looking to take action on like new launches that are going to be exciting, what comes with this. So we want the full scoop on the Ansem, X Claw Pump, X EZA, X Solana, X everyone that's participating hackathon. If I miss people's names, don't get offended because there's so many people involved.
Of course, but, you're all good.
Bunny, can you maybe just give us a quick idea on what's going on here?
So we actually just released like the very last update on it, and the fact is that the Claw Pump, the Ansem Hack Claw Arena is just finally open now. So now everyone go, start sharing it broad and wide. I think I feel like the history of Claw Pump itself is a bit of a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale of like what happens if you enter a couple hackathons with one of your buddies and then you just don't stop and just keep on going, right? Like Claw Pump started as a byproduct of Tommy and I entering the Solana privacy hack, where we won a couple tracks and we did okay, right? Like it's just like winning 2 tracks on a hackathon is good. I realized there that Tommy and I got along really well when working together. And then eventually there was another project I was working on with another friend, and then I realized, oh, agents need to start interacting on chain, right? Then that we were like, oh, let's let agents deploy a token on chain. Then the building public PalmFund hackathon happened, and then now we're here, right? Like we just crossed like $1 million in revenue just a bit ago. We just crossed 130 mil of all as well. And now we want to effectively give back this opportunity to the entire community, right? Like I think that we got incredibly lucky. We got put in such a special place to say, hey, let's actually bring all of the agentic projects into the Solana ecosystem. Like we don't see that many projects out there doing the push that Solana is doing, and they are going to be even making a few more things public during the hackathon, which is quite exciting. Like they're also helping us organize. They're putting in some investment to make the hackathon happen. So yeah, no, we're very happy with it. I think that, I mean, the built-in public hackathon for PalmFund was like 250K award. This one's 320K, which is pretty good. We're giving you compute. We're giving you credits. We're giving you cheap inference. We're giving you a lot of Ansem as well. And on top of all that, like we're letting you be judged by, like very large venture capital firms like Han Ventures, Delphi Digital as well.
Yeah, let's actually talk about this real quick, because of course you guys are iterating on agentic finance. Yeah. We've seen recently Vlad and Robinhood make a big push towards two things, right? RWAs and agentic finance. Of course, we're talking about how we're doing this Ansem event, working with Solana on this. How is Solana and Clawpump thinking about the future of agentic finance? Because clearly it is like of interest to a lot of important people.
Yeah. So there's a couple things here, right? Like I got on a call with Toli thanks to doing Coliseum recently, and there I effectively told him, hey, you see what Vlad is doing, right? Like you cannot just like fall behind, right? And I was very upfront about it. I was like, hey, huge fan, first time caller, but you cannot just let an entire other ecosystem steal this one major narrative. And also, quite frankly, possibly one of the largest technological and financial shifts that we've seen since, the laptop or like the cell phone, right? Like today, like even Mark Andreessen was on this interview that was like, yeah, like there's that memo by Apple where people were like, yeah, laptops are tiny, like there only like 5,000 people in the world have them. And now, I'm joining on a call with you on this laptop, right? Like I think like agentic finance will encompass agentic commerce, agentic inference. Like we have Open Router now, right? We have Venice, we use Spot, actually amazing, like also project that was born out of Clawpump, right? Out of just like Chris giving Clawpump a try. And I think that now Solana is starting to wake up to that. There are a lot of things happening behind the scenes, I'll say, that I cannot, of course, speak very publicly about, but I can, but maybe, like you'll see something concrete. Let's see, like you'll see Solana actually starting to request, hey, these are the startups that we will back, we will support if you want to build them on Solana for agents, right? Like if you want to start using Solana for agentic rails, as the financial, commercial, economic rails for agents, like we will support these sort of projects, right? And being able to not do only this push with Solana, but the most important thing is getting other agentic builders on the conversation, right? Like getting AI labs, getting frontier labs, getting hardware providers. Like that is what's happening on the background. I think that anyone can tweet about agentic finance, but as soon as you start trying out a lot of the products, that is where things fall short, and that is where you're not seeing that major innovation in agentic finance or trading on Robinhood, like by builders there. You're primarily seeing like the meme coin deployment, and that's fine, right? Like, but eventually that is not long duration. What is long duration is the actual projects that get deployed.
Right. Okay. Let's recenter, refocus on this hackathon. I think that's kind of number one on a lot of the community's mind in here today. Big announcement, maybe just start at the top. Like I can even pull up the website maybe and just walk people through like what's going on. And I'd love to hear from your perspective on like how people should participate, pay attention. Give me the full rundown here.
Yeah, for sure. So, registration open today. You have 31 days to effectively bring in your agent, start trading on products. If you have an agentic product or a product that you think could use an agentic angle, this is the perfect type of product to be able to deploy here. We're going to be giving you, and you scroll down a little bit, 320K on Ansem, which is 0.1% of the supply of Ansem. We're giving you like 60K in cash. We're going to be giving 4 awards. So there's a ClawPump X Pump Fund track. So the Pump Fund team is also actively supporting us on this. There's the ECA track, and then there's the USpot track as well. You can combine a couple of the tracks to win a little bit more as well. So we very much encourage teams to do that. I think that USpot is amazing technology. Like they have cut our inference costs very heavily, so that way we don't even need to use Open Router. Like we do get cheaper inference through USpot, so that's great. 6 weeks to get on the arena. I think that building in public was honestly something that we learned from the Pump Fund hackathon, because markets are very attention driven, right? And they did help us actually. Like it does, like we went with Tommy through this period of like, hey, let's focus on making an update every single day, every single week, something major, right? So then you can also garner this attention and make sure that your project continues to be solidified by pretty much posting every single day, posting every single week, see what voices resonate with the Ansem community, with the ClawPump community, with the overarching Solana community and agentic community, right? So we have 4 winners. We have the overall winner. We have the overall winner that will receive 25% of Ansem. We have the ClawPump X Pump Fund winner that will receive 50% of Ansem and $35,000 in cash. The inference market winner by USpot will receive 15% of Ansem plus $10,000 of compute, which honestly, $10,000 of compute is pretty useful. I burn through hundreds of dollars of compute daily sometimes. So
Jeez.
there is actually like an actual like good award. And then if we go a little bit more down, then there's the ECA track as well. So the ECA team has also been organizing a lot of hackathons for quite some time. They also have their own launchpad, and I actually really like the approach that they've taken, that they have managed to onboard net new builders from primarily Web 2 or also just pure native agent builders. And I think that is who we want to also bring into this ecosystem, right? Like if you want the entire support of the Solana community, this is a great place for you to also come here, right? And
got you. And real quick to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of questions on this. People are asking, do I need a token? Can I have an existing token to participate? What are the requirements and rules around like potentially winning this money?
Yeah, so like right now, yes, you do need to deploy a token. The easiest way is to deploy a token on ClawPump or ECA. We do have a migration tool on ClawPump already. I'm unsure about ECA, but we can make the migration tool public as well, so then teams can start more easily migrating their existing token towards the ClawPump ecosystem. Then, like the exact same rules apply. Like you're earning 1% of the creator fees, 65% goes back to the agent, 35% goes back to the ClawPump ecosystem. Something that I will note now is that then we are using 10% of our entire revenue during this hackathon to then purchase back Claw and Ansem. And that the reason why we're saying buyback and not buyback and burn is because we have realized that there are a couple things that we're able to use if we hold some more of the Claw and Ansem supply, which like we can increase liquidity depth for both tokens a lot more, and even create a couple products like, let's say, like staked Ansem, staked Claw, and so on and so forth, right? Like, but we do need some of these supply to be able to pull these products off with reasonable enough yield or reasonable enough liquidity. So yeah, that's also another way that we're looking to kickstart that ecosystem here.
Got you. And, I had a question here in the chat from Crypto Jones. How closely is Bunny working with Ansem and Pump? Are there any other notable teams that are making this possible? I think there's a pretty long list of people making this possible. Do you want to walk through just some of the people involved here?
Yeah, for sure. So we are working very closely with Pump Fund, like they invested on us, right? So like we have a direct line to the Pump Fund team. With Ansem, Ansem's very busy guy, but again, he was like, hey, here's like the supply. Let me know what else you need from me. We'll amplify, retweet, all of that, right? So like we made the announcement last night as well. He retweeted a few hours later, and yeah, now I think that he's just excited to see what what comes out of this.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, so we also talk about the judges. I think this is here. This is the list of the judge. We got Ansem on here, Chris Gilbert, Elon, Kevin, the boys from Easy A, MCG, Squad, Josh, Mert. This is a lot of cool people. Maybe walk me through some of the judges and how this judging will work. Actually, I'm curious personally how this judging will work.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of it.
No, of course. I mean, like we have our criterion for what we'll be judging, right? Like we'll be judging like on-chain volume, attention garner, like novel enough use case, like the quality, the builder quality. Like there's also, we'll look at the code, right? Like if to make sure that, okay, if we're gonna give you like hundreds of thousands of dollars, we want to make sure that your product actually is working well, that it's getting users and whatnot. And then beyond all that, like also we want to make sure that the reason why we're all tokenized projects is because we want to make sure that this is helping the market that you're launching, right? Like it can, like in the exciting way that the Building Public Hackathon from PalmFund also judge like, okay, like how much attention you're garnering and how are you involving the token within your product, that we will also be judging that, right? And we're of course going to be giving you an extra bonus if you're bringing back value to Ansem itself, right? Because it is the Ansem hack. Like he is like one of the major sponsors for this. So yes, of course, we're going to push teams to also integrate Ansem and increase the utility of that token in any way, shape, or form.
Talk me through the decision-making process on why launching a token. Darth Interval says the projects need a token to participate in the hackathon. Why? I remember we went back and forth on this a little bit. I kind of was on the side where it's like, maybe, we just let anyone participate that adds value to the ecosystem, and then of course there are a lot of Launchpad sponsors and partners with this as well. What was the ultimate decision on, and why did you guys decide on like, we need a token to, win this hackathon?
I think there's a couple things. So you can register technically for the entire month and continue building your product, but you should tokenize by the end of it, by September 19th. So that is the very last month where you can tokenize if you are a product that is also, afraid of tokenizing. I completely get that. Like when I got offered the position of, hey, you have this product that just so happens to use PalmFund, you should enter the Building Public Hackathon, right? Clopom itself had gotten some traction, but then as soon as the token got deployed, then traction just went insane, right? I think that launching a token, being able to earn creator fees of your product, and on top of that, being able to tie back your token and to the economic process that your product has enabled, and immediately gaining access to and we take this for granted in crypto, but it is a global distribution network, right? It is insane, right? Like last month, like we made an extra, like we were settling accounts, and then we looked at, okay, how much did we made through creator fees on our token? We went and claimed that, and that was an extra $10,000, and we were like, well, like that's pretty good, right? And that was revenue that we had. Thankfully, the project has worked well enough that we don't have to care too much about the creator revenue anymore. But we were not in that position a few months ago, right? Like actually last month was the worst month that we've ever had on Clopom. And I would say that the creator revenue did help a little bit to make sure that, okay, like at least we have some more revenue on the door, right? So I will say that, making companies, building products, it's a hard, long process. Now it's not as thankless anymore now that we have Twitter. I guess that people on Twitter, like your users, do thank you for your product. But having a token, I will say, is something that you shouldn't be too afraid of. There's too much upside, I'd say, for it.
Okay. Thanks for that answer. I know a lot of people were wondering. Let's talk about the deadline, because you did mention you can build and register, but officially to win, you have to have a token, and you can wait really till like the end of the deadline to launch. Walk me through the deadline here.
Yeah, so the registration opened today. We had leaked already a little bit of the passwords. The passwords $sign claw. So like if you have already registered, that's great. You're able to now build in public through the entire month, August, September. Then you have to tokenize and register by Saturday 19 of September. Then the judging process begins. We're gonna have a week to judge. We might give some breathing room we're going to give priority judging to the teams that deploy a little bit earlier as well. So definitely encourage teams to register as soon as they can, to start being able to tokenize also as soon as you can. Like that is when the judging process begins, right? Like we don't want to end up in a place where we give the award to a token that just isn't doing well. And then we'll get to you with the decisions within that by, the winner gets chosen on the 1st of October. And then, all cash is wire. Also, something that I feel like the Ansem community will appreciate is that we are giving the Ansem portion vested as well to the builders. So then they will have to operate their projects for the next 3 months to start having the value of that Ansem accrue back to them. Right, like we want to make sure that we're making
really
projects that
4 months with the cliff, right?
Fair. Yeah. The 3 months account for the one month cliff. Sorry, I need to reward that. Actually, that's a good catch. So we want people to create projects that ideally crypto enables you to make projects that can live on infinitely, right? But we also understand that like projects are hard to maintain and whatnot, but at least we want to give you an incentive that, hey, if you make something durable and you want to tokenize it, this is a good place to come and then have your projects be operated for a few months until, maybe they can become venture backable companies. Like that's what happened to us. It can happen to you. Right?
Yeah, I think that's the goal. We see a lot of benefits for participating in hackathons. It's number one, just like getting your idea out there, iterating, taking the leap. But also it is nice because you get these things as well from it. Like you get the right eyes on your project, you potentially get a chance to win some money. And then as well, you get free Helios RPC credits, founder support, media spotlights, trading fees from day one. Walk me through some of, I guess, the reasoning behind turning up and participating.
Yeah, for sure. So like the Helios RPC one actually is funny because we posted like initial interest on the hackathon, and then immediately we hinted at the hackathon, and then Mert DM'd me, was like, hey Bunny, we're giving free Helios RPC for everyone that participates. And I was like, okay, sure, now you're involved in the hackathon. And because I was thinking about reaching out to him, but I'm glad that that's why you build in public. People start offering you perks, and we have a few other perks that I want to add there. I think that the most valuable thing that we're doing for Clopom internally, I'd say, is for the ecosystem, is that we ourselves have gone through the Building Public hackathon by PanFan, Colosseum. There's a couple other projects that we're working on with the Solana Foundation as well. So like we can actually guarantee you, like if your project is good, if it cuts through the noise, we can give you all of this support, right? Like that is I think the most valuable thing that we're doing here. Like we've experienced all the support from these communities, so that is what we can give you. Again, very thankful to MCG. I think that being able to actually showcase like the major projects and giving them media attention, like that is something that a lot of projects just don't get, right? Like usually traditional media is not really friendly to crypto, and on top of all that, like tokenized crypto projects. But I think that MCG is a great media partner for that sort of stuff, right? Like that is the type of person that you want to be showcasing your token and your project.
Well, we appreciate that, and we're absolutely happy to do so, and honored to have this opportunity. With that being said, we talk about like the durability of projects a lot. I think one of MTG's focus, if we're going to talk about it, is, like, how can we weed out the good from the bad and make sure we have durable people kind of building in crypto? Hackathons often come with people, again, that kind of put these pop-up ideas into place. Some are not so durable. Some are more durable than others. It seems like you have a priority on really highlighting those durable ones. How do you plan to do that?
Yeah, the durable ones, I think that, okay, let's say like even since we started, one of the major worries when we started making the hackathon slightly more public, when we started hinting at it, was that, okay, we're going to get a bunch of trash, which is true, right? Like it's a volume game. Like anytime you put, even in venture, like most venture deploy cash goes, like 99% of it goes to zero, right? And that's fine. The interesting thing though is that even when we started hinting at it, there were a few very high quality founders, even from the ones working on EVM chains, so even the ones working on agentic finance or agentic financial tooling on Robinhood chain. They DM'd us, and then they were like, hey, I think I want to enter here. Like, do I have to redeploy? Do I have to migrate? And I was like, hey, look, we'll help you out, right? So I think that we're already starting to see like the true high quality proven track record founders start coming into the ecosystem. That's one way to, of course, like cut through the noise. Like if you already are a seasoned founder, you have a following, you know, you are someone that the ecosystem has appreciated and you've been able to prove your track record before. You know, that's, we will be having our eyes on you. And then if you're someone that is just getting started as well, I think that the product sometimes speaks for itself, right? Like there is a way that there are products out there that, let's say, like if someone makes this a DAO that just focuses on rebalancing Ansem somehow, and then also go like hedges out market risk through perps exposure or something like that, like that will be noble enough that I will be like, okay, this is definitely someone that has put some thought into this project, right? Like there's a lot of projects out there. We'll be putting a request for a startup as well, or like request for Ansem projects later in the week. So hopefully that also gives builders a sense of like, okay, these are the types of projects that we think are durable and have certain circular good flywheel economics that can make it withstand the test of time. And yeah, that's about it.
One last thing for builders before we talk about how traders can really participate here. We have a great question from Akai in the chat. He says, how can we increase our odds of winning plus being picked for the stream with the judges? And I guess this is like very specific to what the judges' tastes are for projects, and it's going to differ a lot, right? So maybe you don't have the exact answer, but any maybe tips, advice you would give someone building on how they can really increase their odds of winning or be picked to be on that stream with the judges?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that from that side, you have to just follow the judges on Twitter, right? Like I remember during the building public PumpFund one, I started following everyone on the PumpFund team. I realized that there were a few of them that were even in New York, and I was like, okay, I cannot do let's meet up for coffee, but I can definitely be like, hey, let's actually sync on this event. Let's sync on this event, right? Like you can be very proactive on this, right? Like there's like stories of founders that, you know, like even apply for a job to one of their customers or something like that, right? Like I'm not saying do all that, but do look into who the judges are, follow them on Twitter, see what their opinions are, actually try to have a genuine, earnest conversation with them online. I think that's honestly the easiest way to maximize your chances of being picked, because you know you are actually building rapport with them. And on top of that, I think that we will be putting a bit more like proper documentation, like, hey, this is what we want to see come out of this hackathon, right? Like, and this is just our ideas. If it doesn't fit our ideals, that's okay as well, right? Like we're also happy to take feedback from the market. Like this is the time for, like, people should be innovating on this hackathon, right? Like they should actually be telling the judges, this is what you're missing and what you're not thinking about even. Like that's also another good way to cut through the noise.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's like study the game, find out what the people that are making the decisions like, and get behind it, and do what you can to stand out, just like anything. I mean, there's some great stories I hear of like people who will be looking to apply for a job or looking to work somewhere, and they'll see that this person goes for coffee every day at the same place, and they'll randomly just be there for coffee. It's like, again, do what you can. Don't be crazy, but I think that's good advice here. Let's talk about the traders. Let's talk about the traders here, Bunny. So builders are obviously going to be participating. Traders are unique in this hackathon because they're going to be trying to get upside on a lot of the projects they think are going to win. We know this is the nature of the markets. What should traders be doing to look out for new launches, up and coming talent? How should traders be thinking about this, I think, is the general question.
I think, and also it's speaking of traders, I just realized you had Ansem, a photo of Ansem behind you. With
be the greatest, of course.
I like the be the greatest. Yes, good motivation. With Muhammad Ali too, which is great. Or is it
is that sacrilegious?
It's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. It's Muhammad Ali. Is that sacrilegious though to put Ansem? I will say that's a picture of Ansem when he fought BitBoy Crypto. So at least it's him when he was boxing.
Yeah. Okay, that is him. That is great. No, I really like it. I love Muhammad Ali. My dad was really into boxing, and we got to watch him a little bit. But going back to the trader question, I think that there are, as I mentioned before, like there are a couple like seasoned founders that will be deploying on CloudPump because of this hackathon. So we're already seeing good inklings that okay, there are quality projects coming in. I think that the trader should get involved by, like, I'll say admittedly, I'm a horrible trader in crypto. I'm a great trader in TradFi, and it's primarily by following the narratives in TradFi, right? I think in crypto, it is also a little bit about the narratives, but also about the founder, right? Like, what are they actually going to do to their token? And, you know, like, we will be taking into account, like, whether or not the token is something durable, if it makes sense economically for the project and whatnot, when we pick the winner. So I think that both the judges and the traders are aligned here, right? Like, if you think that a project will be doing great as well, in a way, work for your bags. Like, actually, if you pick a project, actually say, okay, here's the thesis, this is why I think it's going to win, right? If you're right, and you're also helping even convince the judges, hey, this is what you should be looking at, right? Like, that there is a very symbiotic relationship there, right? Like, I think that the traders also can actually help decide who wins this market.
Yeah, so with that, actually, obviously there's going to be this judging panel. The judges are only able to judge off the material they get. So the material submitted, what they see and what they hear. Are the traders going to have access to the same material that the judges have access to look into these projects?
Yes, we're making the entire application process and the application, the submitted application publicly. Initially, we were thinking, oh, let's send an email and all that. And I was like, no, let's actually make, at the end of the registration, you put your name, ticker, your either ECA deployment link or your Clopon deployment link, the Twitter website for the project, and effectively just everyone involved, right? And like all the team members, and then that gets actually tweeted out, right? Like, you submitted your application, and then you're given the option, do you want to tweet this? And we very highly encourage you to tweet that, right? Like, tag Clopon Tech, tag ECA, tag PalmFund, tag Ansem. Just don't spam us too much, but definitely, if you want to submit your project and you want us to take notice, tag us. Like, we'll be looking at everything that you're posting.
Yeah, I definitely like that approach. I think the fact that traders can see everything the judges see, and it also gives, it's two-sided, right? Because it gives a reason for the people submitting to submit a thorough review on who they are, what their token does, and be thoughtful about everything they're submitting, because it's also being seen by traders, and traders are going to trade off that information. So very cool. Bunny, I think we've done a good job kind of walking through it. Of course, there's going to be more information coming out. So the best thing people can do is follow the Clopump Tech Twitter account. Anything we missed that you want to touch on, or like a message to the listeners?
No, just if you are a builder and you've been looking for your chance to deploy, literally, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, don't be afraid to go ahead, put that side project that you were like, oh, this project's really funny, this project is like something I've been meaning to do for a while, maybe it's a good thing to put into a hackathon. Go ahead, do it. If you're also just very openly, right? Like, we will be getting a lot of support on the launch side from a couple of teams that we've been working in the past. Like, if you are a seasoned founder that is a little bit scared of putting a token out there, also reach out to us. Like, we know a lot of the mechanics and whatnot, like sniping, bot protection, all of that, like all the stuff that makes sure that your token also launch goes well as well. Reach out to us. If you're a trader, of course, be on the lookout for the next upcoming projects. I think it's going to be something that you'll be seeing a lot of actually net new projects come out of this hackathon, and even more projects get announced within the hackathon. So I think that'll be good.
So two things I want to leave us with here. Is there any way, I mean, I know a lot of our trader audience here is avid fans of Love Island, right? So we see, in Love Island, they have this mechanism where you can go and vote on like the couple you want or whatever. I actually don't know how it works for what it's worth. But,
you have an app,
are there
like the website app. Yeah.
So you have an app to vote or whatever. Is there a way for traders to sway some of the decisions on what wins these hackathons? Can they participate in a meaningful way, whether it's support on the timeline, whether it's voting on projects? Is that kind of built in at all?
I was actually thinking of doing a last minute like voting page as well. I might do it as well. Like, I think it could be good, but I think that the only counter argument to the voting is that honestly, the true voting happens on Twitter, right? Like, you do see on the timeline who is winning, right? Like, you see if your project is doing really well, everyone's talking about it on Twitter. If your project has faded away, no one's talking about it, right? Like, the true voting happens on chain and on socials, right? So definitely go vote by tagging your project, tagging Clopom, sharing your thesis, saying why you think it should win. I think that's far more meaningful than just like the voting page. But I might still also do the voting page. I think it's fun. It's cute.
Yeah, the issue with voting is like there's people may come up and bot it to death, and you can't really tell. But also, it's like what's interesting about the blockchain is you can actually prove commitment and support for something by showing how many tokens you hold. Whether that's a snapshot or people don't want to connect their wallet, but some way to sign and prove ownership of something. It's possible. Nonetheless, final thing I want to leave with is there is this stigma around token launches. And I think it's starting to slowly diminish a little bit. And also, like, not financial advice to these traders. If you're getting in a position, assume it's going to go to zero, assume it's going to lose, assume the team's going to abandon. Like, do proper due diligence. It's just what you have to do, the steps you have to take. With that being said, though, there's been this stigma around launching tokens that it comes with a community who's got pitchforks and torches. If I don't meet timelines, deadlines, and execute exactly as to the original vision, I'm like a dead man walking. How do you see the stigma of tokens? Do you think this is starting to kind of diminish? It's a little more acceptable to launch a token these days. And like, are we going to get to that future where people can launch a token without having to fear for their, like, I don't know, livelihood?
Yeah. So I think, and I think there is how to say it, there's some interesting dissonance here, because like we have the stigma around token launches, but then again, we also have the biggest number of launchpads ever being deployed now. We even have teams that are launchpads off launchpads as well, right? And we can say
what
that
Ansem just did, right?
Yes, but he did. I guess he worked a little bit with Pomfon on that, right? Like he does use Pomfon on the back end. So at least we're getting to the point where it's like we're having launchception, but we're also having, okay, like this is the one standard that we like to use, right? Like there is something interesting to Ansem deciding to use Pomfon and not using any other launchpad standard on Solana, right? Of course, it's a no-brainer to most traders and most users of the chain, right? But if someone was just a pure developer, had no idea how launchpads work, they could still choose any other launchpad, and still Ansem decided to hone in on Pomfon, right? We decided to also hone in on Pomfon. We expanded support to other chains, but still we see most of our volume still come from Pomfon. So I think that the stigma around launchpads has decreased. That's one. Two, the stigma around having a token has decreased, but I think that now traders have made a genuine good job at saying like, hey, tie back the how to say it, the token back, tie the token back to something, right? Like make sure that it doesn't just like float away. Like we have some very aggressive buybacks on Claw early days. Now we're reintroducing buybacks on Claw to make sure that, okay, like the price is steady, that there is some always liquidity reinjection coming in, but we also don't want it to be such that we are our largest holder and then no one can trade the token either, right? So then I think that there's interesting economics there to play around with. And again, like if you launch an economic process, most economic processes can be facilitated by also introducing a token, right? It can be your own token, it can be your platform token, it can be a token that represents the fees that your platform takes. You can redistribute your platform fees back to token holders by either buying the token and whatnot, or just outright airdropping your profits to the token holders. But yeah, like there's utility out there to be garnished by token deployers, I guess, is what I'm saying. You just have to come up with good ways of doing that.
Absolutely. Last question, guys. We got to call it. Bart asks tokenomics of Claw. You talked about reintroducing buybacks, but this is kind of separate from the hackathon. Maybe general update on Claw, how you guys are doing internally, and then like tokenomics of Claw and how the value will accrue to the token through this hackathon.
Sure. So like we wanted to be very explicit on the flywheel, right? Like, and we want to make sure that this is an Ansem hack, but it's the Claw arena as well, right? So we are going to be using 10% of all the profits here to buy back Ansem and Claw. We also have a whole new analytics page and within that analytics page at the very bottom of it, we are accounting already how much of the volume is getting produced by the projects that enter the hackathon and how much of that volume is going to go towards buying back Claw and buying back Ansem, right? And then again, like this is effectively just like buy pressure. And is buy pressure enough? I think no. I think that what is more interesting, if you go all the way to the bottom, there you go. Those are the projects that have entered so far. We just announced it, so I think that Shinjuku actually is doing great. By the way, I think Private Export 2 is one of these like cyberpunk technologies, but also very enterprise-friendly technologies. So I'm very curious to see what they do with that. Actually, if some conversations that they're having turn out well. But yeah, like we're gonna be using that SOL that they produce towards buybacks, right? And that's a little bit of SOL since we tweeted out something just a few minutes ago now. I think things are starting to accumulate. People are going to be getting more volume there. And we want to effectively use all the accumulated Claw and Ansem to actually increase liquidity, to actually make sure that the token has more utility, right? Like we accumulated an extra 5% of the token supply of Claw since the last time we chatted, I believe, just through like some programmatic buybacks. And then we were like, okay, this is good, but is it helping the chart? Not really. Like, it helped it a little bit, but it wasn't the most useful thing that we could do, right? Like, I think that if we're able to introduce Claw staking, if we're able to introduce, like I said, like liquidity for Claw on other chains, be able to let people deploy with Claw being the per token for it. Like, I think that's the type of ideas that to me sound more interesting and does allow for more token utility rather than just buying it back, right? I think Hype did an amazing job at buying back its own token. But I think that, let's say, like mechanisms, even like pawns seem more interesting to me, like saying, oh, we're going to buy back and burn plus allow teams to also buy back and do something else with the tokens they bought back. I think that sounds much more interesting to me, actually, as a project.
Okay. All good answers. I think that kind of covers everything today that we needed to. Anything last minute you think you feel we didn't touch on?
No, just go to the AnswerCap Arena, check out the website. I think that we're doing a good job at getting people onboarded, and yeah, just get to deploying.
All right, you heard it here first, guys. We appreciate you, Bunny. As always, it's a pleasure, and we'll keep tabs on this very closely. And I'm sure a few of the winners and people that are participating and competing are going to be on MCG. So we'll probably get a lot more of you here in the coming days, weeks, and months.
Yeah, awesome. Have a good one, eh?
See you. All right, have a good one, eh? He threw it in at the end there. Love it. Yeah, guys, that does it for today's interviews. Lots of good coverage there. We got the Aeon update, what's going on with them and V4 hooks. And I didn't know they were doing so well in security, and they have a few different facets they're tapping into. So security, compute, on chain, all good. Hooker, we had a long conversation breaking down what they're doing there. And again, that goes back to how can we make liquidity pools function as a DeFi primitive outside of just facilitating swaps, right? How do we make liquidity pools work for more than just buying and selling into a liquidity pool? Rather, we can do leverage positions, lending against it, etc. So that was a really, really cool conversation. Of course, just now finished it with Bunny from Claw Pump talking about the Ansem Hackathon to get that in as it goes live here. So that's been good. It's been 3 hours since starting the stream. I got a few things to bump through, guys. If you're in the chat, I see your chats. Again, Twitter's bugging. Twitter streaming service is just so trash. We do have, we're live on YouTube. If you guys want, you can always go on YouTube at MCG Live and watch there if it's easier. Your messages will pop up on the screen, or we can pop them up on the screen if you're messaging there. For my Twitter comments, I see you guys going crazy. I appreciate you guys always. I'll read it here, but I just can't pop it up on the screen. But we're going to talk through. I'm with you guys for the next half an hour or so. And yeah, let me know what you guys want to see. With that being said, though, I'm just going to go through some stuff I have saved, and we'll talk through my general thoughts here. Let's look at this tweet from AZ Flynn. AZ Flynn mentions, he's actually quoting Nico, I believe. Shout out Nico, man. Nico put out this tweet saying, update, Unitree is up 50%. This was pre-IPO, I believe. Yeah, Unitree just went live on Hyperliquid and Wick 50% with 30 minutes open interest. And I believe this was pre-IPO. And then upon IPO, up 50% after, right? With that being said, AZ Flynn put out this tweet. He goes, honestly, just max long any pre-IPO AI/robotic stock on Hyperliquid for a guaranteed profit at this point. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong, bro. I mean, this has been the strategy. I mean, with everything we're seeing listed on Hyperliquid pre-IPO, we saw for SpaceX, right? SpaceX pre-IPO ripped into the IPO. We saw it here just now with Unitree. So this is pretty cool. Also, with that, tomorrow we're having some robotics conversations. I believe we have Don Johnson from Virtuals coming on talking about the Virtuals relationship with Unitree. Excuse me. And that's a roundabout relationship. Virtuals has under its umbrella company is Eastworld, which is like the Virtuals robotics lab pretty much. And Eastworld is providing a lot of data for Unitree. So there is like a lot of relationship and synergies there. So we're going to have Don Johnson come on and talk about the Virtuals Eastworld relationship, and then, you know, how that relates to Unitree and the relationship there, which is going to be really cool. Who else do we have on tomorrow? Another robotics company, I believe. Another robotics company. I'll tell you in a second. BitRobot. We have BitRobot coming on as well tomorrow. So 2 robotics companies. I think we have a third guest as well, but it's going to be a banger. We're talking through it. Crazy, though. We might get a robotics season on chain at some point. At the very least, what I think we're going to do is get robotics SPV run at some point, right? You guys know I'm positioned in Deus. We know you have, you know, Bot, for example. What these are firms that have an SPV, special purpose vehicle, that holds all of their robotics positions. And we know robotics private companies have been going absolutely crazy, of course, inaccessible to you unless you're an accredited investor and have great deal flow. And so I think we're going to see some of those start to go crazy on chain, you know, potentially Deus being one of those, which is like sitting close to net asset value. So brought that up to kind of just let you guys know what's going on here in the markets and how you should position. Okay. We talked about Coinbase here. I think this is a pretty horrendous idea in the long run. Let's talk. Oh, I think I also covered this, right? We covered Pump Fund here has actually gone positive on buybacks. So they've done buybacks and they're now actually in the green on this. They managed to accumulate and burn a great amount of supply. Great note from Adam here. Adam is a great trader. You guys got to follow him. If you don't, he puts out amazing content. And he creates fantastic Dune dashboards. But he makes an interesting point. He said trading is moving both on-chain and increasingly cross-chain. Man, I don't know if you guys were here in like 2020 around that time when we got the last cycle's run up. I know I was. And one of the big narratives that I thought was going to be huge was protocols that basically abstracted the cross-chain, abstracted chains out of the equation, right? So everyone was trying to jump over to Solana to trade, Ethereum mainnet, Base, BNB, and there was all this abstraction, liquidity fragmentation happening. And my big question was, who can solve this liquidity fragmentation? Now we're actually starting to see this pretty much with every terminal. It's making it agnostic to trade on any chain you can think of with any currency. And so we're getting a bit less of this fragmentation issue. And I think it's opened the door up to, hey, we can have a runner on Solana one day, we can have a runner on Base the other day, we can have a runner on the mainnet, we can have a runner on Robinhood, and you can trade all of them. And that same person can trade all of these rather than jumping through hoops to trade each chain. Most people were only like very loyal to one chain. They trade on Solana and only Solana. They trade on Ethereum and only Ethereum because it was so fragmented. But that's starting to close. The gap's starting to close here. As you can see, Adam says trading is moving both on-chain and increasingly cross-chain. To get the complete picture, we need a unified view of our trading terminals and their volume across every chain. I've begun here. Okay, so working on seeing that. Of course, we see a lot of volume that used to come from, like, we talked about FOMO, right? Obviously, FOMO is absolutely popping off. Number 5 on the Finance App Store right now. Something insane. Onboarding, I think I saw 30 to 50,000 new users per day. Buku numbers, retail's coming. We've seen that, like, lots of their revenue is, of course, recently coming from Robinhood, right? Whereas it was almost exclusively Solana not too long ago. So it is happening in real time. Another one I want to talk about is What the Hook. This looks pretty cool, but only after we cover a few things first. Okay, so let's read through Vlad Tenev's message, of course, CEO of Robinhood, CEO and co-founder of Robinhood, and he basically put out a tweet talking about tokenized stocks in America. Okay, and I want to cover this because it's been very easy and very obvious. If you are paying attention whatsoever to the Robinhood chain, Vlad is telling you exactly what's going to do well. when this whole thing came to be, they announced it. It was very clear. RWAs and agentic finance are the two things Robinhood's very focused on. So you as a participant, market participant, you need to be following Vlad and reading deeply on what he's interested in. Just like we talked to Bunny a second ago from Cloud Pump on the Ansem Hackathon, how can we get the best edge and finding out what the judges like and building something cool and getting on stage and winning. What's our best odds to do that? It's study the person that's got the decision-making power. Vlad Tenev is that person. So you got to do the same thing here. Understand what he likes, find out what his taste is, and then you position for that. Let's read this article. It's not too long, guys. So tokenized stocks in America. It's becoming increasingly clear that we are in the early innings of a global tokenization super cycle. Last year, I called it a freight train that cannot be stopped, and one that will eat the entire financial system. Of course, Hyperliquid made this very clear to a lot of people. When we saw markets closing, when we saw the war in Iran, and you were able to trade oil, gold, and silver all during weekends, all during market close periods. Since then, tokenization, and of course, we're seeing it with private companies. Since then, tokenization has entered the mainstream public consensus, and it hasn't been just talk. Outside the US, Robinhood has been early and consistent in shipping products that push the frontier of this new industry. Just over a month ago at our London event, The World is Flat, we launched the mainnet of Robinhood Chain, the first chain purpose built for real-world assets. Couldn't be more explicitly clear there, huh? Real-world assets. That's what you want to position for in Robinhood. It has since become the fastest EVM chain to reach 100 million transactions with stock tokens as a core primitive, giving people with over 120 countries economic exposure to 190 plus US stock backed by one-to-one underlying shares. But there's one glaring gap. Stock tokens are not yet available in the US. The debate over equity tokenization in America has split in two camps. Eager enthusiasts asking when tokenized stocks will be available here, and skeptics asking what is even the point. Unlike many overseas markets where the access to the US equities and other high quality RWAs can be limited, in America, we already have companies like Robinhood offering several low cost and accessible avenues to own US stocks. There has also been a debate about the structure of the tokenized stocks themselves. Today, Robinhood stock tokens are fully backed by the underlying securities and give holders economic exposure to the assets on chain, including dividends. They are not the same thing as directly owning the underlying shares, but focusing on that distinctly misses what is new. For the first time, we can tokenize exposure to high quality financial assets and make those tokens portable, programmable, self-custodial, customizable, and available for 24/7 trading with an open financial ecosystem. And this is the only way tokenization can be structured. As a regulatory framework matures, we expect the token design to evolve further, including tokenized equities that carry the full rights of traditional shares. Of course, that's with the Clarity Act. Tokenization is the best path towards modernizing the American financial system. And what I'm really excited about is, the tokenization of assets outside of just the US markets. Can we get Chinese companies tokenized? Can we get, Canadian stock exchange listed companies tokenized? Can we get a myriad of other things tokenized? And it extends far beyond the United States. I think we're seeing this with stable coins as well right now, right? Stable coins are starting to really blow up and be proven as having a lot of staying power and one of the breakout things to come from crypto. And we're also starting to see, at the fastest rate yet, stable coins of currencies outside of just United States dollars, right? So Great British Pound, Euro, Swiss franc, right? Other assets creating stable coins, right? Other currencies outside of the US dollar is starting to grow. And that's exposure, a lot of people want. Different, but just kind of in tandem with this. Let me get a drink real quick before I keep going. I don't think this is too much longer. Nope, not too much longer. Now, where was I, though? Got that. Okay. Here it is. Tokenization is the best path towards modernizing the American financial system and expanding the dream of ownership to all Americans included. Tokenization isn't about putting a stock on the blockchain for the sake of it. Rather, we are rebuilding the infrastructure underneath ownership so that assets can move as freely as information does on the internet. For American investors, the infrastructure unlocks 3 immediate advantages. Reminder that Robinhood was some of the first people to tokenize pre-IPO companies. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but Robinhood was some of the first people to tokenize pre-IPO companies. So they clearly have been thinking about tokenization and blockchain for a long time now, and it does stem beyond just stocks. If you're paying attention, you would know that. First, tokenization enables real-time settlement and makes markets. Blah, blah, blah. The GameStop fiasco must never happen again. We know about this. Second, tokenization enables 24/7 trades. This is pretty much just him spewing the thesis we are deeply familiar with. Takeaway here is going to be Robinhood freaking likes tokenization and they like RWA assets. So don't mid-curve it. You just got to trade and play the game that's being given to you. Okay? Don't mid-curve it. So I'll leave it at that. I don't need to read too much about it. I also saw this really interesting article. I haven't read it, but this article on LeanFi. I'm not going to read it. It actually looks too long. I'll read it on my own time here. But you should give it a read because we talked about LeanFi before this and like what they're doing and how they're creating a completely new RWA primitive. And I think we kind of get an RWA season with Robinhood really pushing this. It'll probably be chain agnostic too, right? It probably starts on Robinhood and we see it on Solana like we're seeing it now. And we see it on Base like we're starting to see with LeanFi. So it's actually that thesis is being proven in real time. So positioning for RWAs on other chains is not a bad idea. I mean, we got the launch of Stonk on Solana, and it did really, really well. Of course, they were the first to kind of do this RWA tokenization thing on Solana. So LeanFi is cool. Lean into RWA. Let's talk about this. We'll do some live DD, boys, because I thought this was pretty interesting. It's called What the Hook. It's called What the Hook, and it is a MEV V4 hook bot, pretty much. Okay, and I got to look into it more, but here's what they said. Our protocol will further enhance AMM liquidity provider gains by recapturing lost value to external arbitrage bots. Next level MEV blocker in a hook, but it rebates not only to the swapper, also the LPs through V4 pool donations. Crypto Jones, you were asking earlier, like, what is the limitation of V4 hooks? This should show you, like, there is none. There is none. It's insane. So let's go to their website because I checked out their website briefly last night and I want to read through it to fully understand here with you guys. What the hook? When trading creates price gaps between pools, our hook captures the arbitrage first and turns it into trader and LP rewards. How it works. Trading creates a small price discrepancy. Our smart hook captures the opportunity before outside bots. The profit is shared, better rewards for traders, higher earnings for liquidity providers, more trading, and stronger liquidity. And I should probably show you the chart on this. I should probably show you the chart on this because I feel like it's incredibly prevalent to this conversation. And it's up only. It's up only. It's up 51% on the day to $3 million. $1 million in liquidity. That's incredible. $1 million in liquidity on a $3 million asset. Now, thick liquidity can actually work as a to the detriment of projects sometimes because it actually makes it very hard to move price. But $1 million liquidity on a $3 million asset is freaking incredible, right? Like 1/3 of the value, 1/3 of the entire value of this sits in liquidity. So right now, 1/3 of everybody holding could sell and be liquid, which is pretty crazy. Dip back over here. So that's the general idea. The user flow, you buy or sell, that trade creates a small price difference between pools, the spread. Our smart hook captures value from that difference. The profit is automatically shared. And I think understanding how can this do this better than a MEV bot is important, right? Because MEV bots have been doing this forever. Why is this better? And I think it's because of what V4 hooks enable in the stack. And I think they explain it later in a second. So traders receive 40%, liquidity providers receive 60%. On the buy side, the sell side, traders receive 10 and 60 from the MEV profits. Bring your own token. Another token project connects, create trading pools. Yeah, okay, I'll read this. Bring your own token. Another token project connects. Create 2 trading pools using our setup guide. The hook and the tick spacing comes preset. And again, this is kind of the issue we talked about. You need to set up a whole nother liquidity pool for this stuff because they haven't launched with the hooks. So for hooks to be beneficial, for the most part, you need to launch with the hooks. And since hooks are a new primitive just getting spun up, there's a lot of tokens that are not currently launched with hooks. So whoever can crack this gap meaningfully to where you can make hooks accessible to all pre-launch tokens is going to be eating, bro. Is going to be eating. because right now you have to make a new liquidity pool and put the hook in that liquidity pool or whatever. And I'm not a technical guy. This is how I'm understanding it. So if possible to like somehow reverse engineer it and get the hook in the pool, if possible, it's probably not possible, but my pea brain, like smooth brain take is that someone can do it, and if they can, it's incredibly valuable. But create a new a pool. The pool automatically uses your smart hook. The hook earns profit from price differences between the pools. Okay. Yep, they walk through this. This actually, the site's a little bit repetitive is my only feedback. Because yeah, like they just gave the steps above. Now they're repeating it. The WTH token, another token uses the hook. Positive profit is captured. What the hook protocol pools receive a share. From the buy, 18% of profit captured. From the sell, 27% of profit captured. Shares of positive captured profit, not percentages of the trader's full trade amount. Right. Yeah. This makes sense. It's also hooks V3, blah, blah. How it's built. This is what we need to understand, right? How is this better than MEV bots that are coming and abstracting and arbitraging the price right now? Pool list. Keeps the pool and token the hook is allowed to use. Route checker. Looks at a limited set of paths and estimates whether a safe profit exists. Executor. Runs the price correction trade, includes all balances in one protected process and payout ledger. Records the trader and pool shares. It can never pay more than it captures. Core safeguards. Yeah, but this is okay. We get this. Here, let's watch this video. Today, outside of bots often keep the profit. Price correction is useful, but money made often... Yeah, but like, is there something in this that prevents bots from collecting this profit? And like, what makes this faster? The hook captures real profit. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to understand this here with you. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's an interesting concept. I guess I'm still not fully aware of how they're going to beat out MEVs in this process. And again, they're coming on the stream next week to talk through it, but very cool situation. It's a hook, every buy, and I think how they beat MEVs is because it's a hook, this automatically happens even before the transaction is submitted, or maybe it happens after, but like it's not possible to front run is how I understand it. Whether that's true or not, who knows? So that's what the hook. I thought it was cool. I'm going to check out their Twitter right quick. See if they got anything for us. I think we kind of just went through all that. Yeah. Okay. We are now supporting arbitrage against prop AMMs for stock tokens on Robinhood. Our team has dedicated a part of the revenue to set up the following hooked pools. Okay, so they're actually creating some of these pools to make it possible. And this is what's going to need to happen. There's going to need to be a market maker, a liquidity provider. Someone needs to step in and basically make a bunch of pools that these hooks with these hooks. And it's going to be difficult for fragmentation because, like, if you like Cashcat, for example, and you create an external hook. Let's say we have the hooker team come on. They say, we're going to create a new liquidity pool for Cashcat with our hook in it. And that'll allow leverage on Cashcat, lending on Cashcat. Cool. But now to create a what the hook on Cashcat, they're going to create a completely separate additional liquidity pool that can route the MEV profits through their hook. So it's like we kind of have the issue we're going to run into is there's going to be all these different liquidity pools for relevant projects that get a lot of volume and have a lot of attention, and it's going to be fragmented. So how do we like get all the hooks in one pool? All hooks, one pool. All hooks, one pool. All hooks, one pool. That's what we need. That's going to be the issue for hooks right now. But I think we're at a very like interesting spot where we're going to see some really cool, unique things around liquidity pool and what that means. And that's it, guys. That's it for my tweets I have saved. But Now it's time to talk on chain. Okay. Let's talk on chain markets, boys. What do you want to talk about? What are you looking at? Pawns, of course, the leading launchpad on Robinhood. I think this goes higher. If it gives you a nice, sweet entry down here back when we were talking about it. Of course, I missed the entire Pawns run up. I only got to enter Pawns on this dip right down here. I did that publicly when everyone was super long on Frong. I said short Frong, long Pawns. It was a great trade. But yeah, this looks great. Even at 25 million for the leading launchpad. What's the stickiness? What's the durability of Robinhood? I think it's very sticky and very durable. So I think the leading launchpad that has managed to hold market share through all the vamp attempts is going to continue to win. And this 25 mil should probably be closer to, you know, not what pump funds at you know, multi, you know, billion, whatever, but 100, 200, 300 mil. Is that crazy? It sounds crazy right now, but if Robinhood chain continues to grow, it probably in hindsight won't be. Stonk. Let's talk about this. This I feel like is a bid. Okay, so remember we talked about two things. We think TA is kind of fugazi, whatever. What you want to do is wait for the demand zone. My gold box here is demand zone. So now what I have to do is wait for, you know, wait for prices to start compressing and showing signs that buyers are willing to step in at a discounted price. Okay, and stock is at 4.2 million. They were the first person on Solana to kind of innovate around this RWA launchpad pairing strategy, right? Pair tokens against Ansem, pair token against pre-IPO stocks, pair tokens against equities, blah, blah, blah. I think it's a cool, unique primitive. And I think they have a strong product here and they're iterating fast. I don't like how the team's A9. I don't like how the team will come on MCG, but they are iterating fast. And I don't think this just dies. Okay. Of course, we need volume on their platform for this to do well, but at the moment, they've already made 700K in revenue since launching. They're a top 50 app revenue generating protocol in crypto right now. And yeah, it's trading at 4.2 million, which just feels kind of disgusting. So I think this continues to see success. Stock is probably a pretty good dip here. I have bought some. I actually bought a little higher. I think I bought like around this 6.2 level for buy number one, then bought a little lower here around maybe a lower 5.5 level. Looking to deploy more here in this range as we start to consolidate sideways and potentially start to curl. Okay, look for the curl. Look for the curl because now we're starting to get into deep value territory. Ave, absolutely, brother. We are in holding coin season, or about to be. Yes. Yes. Pull up the fibs on stocks. Crypto Jones, I can pull up fibs on stocks, but like, why? And like, why and from where are we pulling it up? Are we pulling it up from the base that it ran at down here? Right? All Fibonacci's are is just percentage, either pullbacks or extensions on price. Yeah, so like down here's your 78.6 if you go from bottom to top of wick. But like if you took a Fibonacci from like this run up to this run up, I mean, you're at 100, you know, you're below the Fibonacci range. So it's like, where do you want to take? All this is measuring is the amount of pullback. It's all stuff you can eyeball, right? I could eyeball this and say, okay, it's probably at a 75% pullback from the, from the top, right? Or whatever. Yeah. I mean, 74%, right? So you don't really need a Fibonacci. You just need to eyeball it and watch what price action happens when you get in deep value territory. Can we all agree this has become deep value territory? It was at 16 million. It's now at 4 million. Revenues are solid, although diminishing. Okay, so now that we've identified, okay, we could be a potential deep value territory, what we need to start seeing is sellers stop selling. Right now we see sellers are scared, they're panicking, they're still selling. This needs to slow down, right? We need to see, okay, maybe actually the craze is over, Ansem's not vamping all our liquidity, this might be here to stay. We're not going to sell anymore here because we don't see it's valuable. And we start seeing price do this, right? Start to curl. And that's when we say, okay, deep value plus lack of sellers. Now can buyers meaningfully step in to make a higher high? Okay. And that's when we're positioning. And so if this starts to curl over the next, 8, 12, 2 days, 8, 12 hours, 24 hours, 2 days, 3 days, that's when I would say, hey, maybe start positioning there. That's what I'm waiting on right now. Like I've got my initial entries at what I felt was deep value, just in case we just instantly bounced. But now I'm going to look for the curl. So that should answer your question, my boy, Crypto Jones. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Slicing through support. So you can do all the TA in the world. You can say this is, order block right here. And like all that's going to do is tell me, okay, these are potential zones to start watching. What happens that's more important is a price action inside that discounted area. You're right. It's slicing through all support. So it needs consolidation. IMD and net. Lesnar will definitely cover IMD and net for sure, brother. For sure. Cover Delta real quick first. Y'all know I'm mega bullish on Delta. This chart looks good. Boys, this chart looks good. Ave, and let's talk about this real quick as well. Ave says, is holding coin season around the corner? It's buy and hold season. And what's buy and hold season right now is I think a lot of Robinhood chain where we got that initial wave I talked about. It's kind of died out. But do you think Robinhood chain is going to be sticky? You know how I feel about this. I think it is. And so you have these tech projects that are sitting at lows. And if we do get a massive run up and volumes come back to the trenches again, Bitcoin's up 5% on the day. ETH is almost up 10% on the day. Solana's up 7% on the day. Hyperliquid's up 18% on the day. Oh my goodness. This was not up 70% when we started the stream. This was up like less than the majors. Holy cow. Lighter up 12.5% on the day. Cracking all-time highs, knocking at the door of all-time highs. Jeez Louise. Sea of green. Love to see it. Nonetheless, it'll be buying and hold season, especially if we see macro pick up like this and continue to tick up like this, which you guys know I expect to happen. So yeah, I think it's buy and hold season. I think we had first wave. The wheat is being separated from the chaff as we speak. And so if you buy and sit and hold on, I think Robinhood chain, which is a chain that probably gets a lot more volume coming into it for wave 2, you probably make out very well and you can get some things at good discounts. So yes, I would say buy and hold season for sure. Late early on stocks. Agreed with this take, brother. Agree with this take. You are no longer early on stocks, but we see it has proven itself. And yeah, I think you could very well be in late early stages. Yeah. That's a good call out. I faded you on Delta pissed. Sorry. Delta looks great. I mean, these pullbacks are nullified. They're holding strong. We saw Unipick spot in the other day. Again, like the thesis is simple. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, they're printing. It's a very new primitive. It takes time to build this stuff. You are not buying Delta right now because they've created $15,000 in fees for holders. Like that's very small, 70, 80K TVL, whatever they're at. Like that's very small in the grand scheme of things. I think Meteor, I heard, did 30 billion trading volume. 30 billion. It's how big could this get? Will they be the leader in on-chain EVM liquidity? Okay. So you cannot look at the numbers right now for this. And they're clearly winning at this point. And I think this accumulation looks nice. Unipick spot in. I think people are seeing volumes come back. I think people are starting to position and bet on winners for the long term. And I think in a market that's good, guys, we again, it's much more thesis, story, narrative driven than it is how much money are you making driven. In a bear market, we have to say, okay, this is deep value territory because their prices are appreciating, or their earnings are appreciating more than their prices, right? Pump Fund, Meteora, what's making revenue, what's doing well, what's sustainable. We're investing in those in a bear market. In a bull market, you have to shift your mindset to people are not, number one, people don't even really care what value the token brings. Like if the token has no economic ties to it, people don't care in a bull market, frankly. They'll trade it. But you're betting much more on how big could this get? How innovative is it? Is this exciting? Is this a narrative? Check. Delta is a new protocol, but they've been the first person to enable this on EVM. And we're starting to see a meaningful community grow there. And the numbers are really good to watch, but I don't think it's how you price the token. And so I do think this probably, it looks like this is ready to blast off and probably goes upwards of 6 million here on this next leg, I would say. So Delta looks incredibly good. And again, we're seeing the Delta army start to grow. We're seeing liquidity providers come to EVM. And again, we have to educate EVM because they don't know they could provide liquidity, right? So this is an education process for them. But we are seeing it start to grow. TVLs grow. Fees jumped from like 4,000 last week to 15,000 made on the platform. So people are earning money. They've earned $15,000 in fees using the platform already. We're seeing TVL start to increase. Again, very, very small in the grand scheme of things, but it's starting to increase. Open positions above 650 last I checked. So people are using the protocol. It's working as intended. That's what we like to see. If volumes come back to Robinhood and people really get excited about providing liquidity again, that's where this gets silly. Okay. Talking about Hooker, people bought, this was clearly a sell the news event, right? People front ran MCG very clearly, and they sold into the interview. Good accumulation here. I would probably, like, I might go buy more Hooker after this stream turns off, to be completely frank with you guys. And again, it goes back to the thesis I was just saying. I think we're about to be in a phase where markets are green, broader markets are green, volume starts coming back, and a second wave of Robinhood starts to ensue. And I think you can hold tokens rather than flipping them. I think Hooker is largely going to be driven by, oh, V4 hooks are really interesting. Oh, leverage, adding leverage to a position on chain is super cool. Can I use my liquidity pool for more? I think this narrative and storyline, if told correctly, can be huge. I like Hooker a lot here. Timestamp at book market. I like Hooker a lot here. Also, let's see what OX Zaps is looking like. His other project. And I don't know like how we should value Zaps against Hooker. I think if you like it, just have a little bit of both is kind of what I'm thinking. But this looks pretty bottomed out. Again, high risk. 52K in the liquidity pool though, and 65K market cap. You can pretty much just sell right now everything even 1-to-1 in the liquidity pool. I mean, so the downside on this is like literally almost zero. Okay. Unless I'm an idiot. But I could come and sell 10K right now, and the FDV would go down to 55K, and liquidity would go down to 42K, and price would pretty much just move that amount, right? So we would go from 64 basically to like around 54. So you actually have a pretty deep liquidity for how microcap this is. Not recommending you buy it necessarily. It's so low, but yeah, again, the 2-token system I don't love. That's like the biggest drawback for Hooker, but I think this narrative is it could be huge. So I like Hooker for that reason. For that reason, I'm in. IMD was requested here. Lesnar, I got you. Trump said USA will have access to hype in a legal way. Lesnar just said in the chat that in a legal roundabout way, Trump just said that hype, the US will have access to hype. Bullish. And is that I have to check this myself, but is that bullish or bearish for Lighter? Because one of the theses here was Lighter will be like the go-to venue for the United States because hype is not and cannot, doesn't have the legal clearance. So I don't know if that's actually bullish Lighter. That's I mean, definitely bullish hype. But Lighter's ripping off of that news. So maybe I have to go read into it. Maybe he said all perp dexes or something. But okay, good info. I'll have to check that out independently. IMD though. IMD. Lesnar, you're asking about IMD, bro. I think I'm in the same boat as all of you. I know very, very little about this. He's created a new launchpad primitive. This is IMD on mainnet, identity.md. They've launched a NFT collection, which last night was at 0.5 ETH, about half an ETH per NFT. I don't know what they're doing. It's very cryptic. This freaking dev only communicates through Etherscan. He tweets about stuff, but for the most part, he communicates updates through Etherscan. So very dev coded, cryptic. No one really knows what he's building situation, but he's launched an NFT collection. And last night he launched a launchpad, which I was monitoring. I actually traded on that launchpad. He launched a launchpad basically with a new primitive of one-sided liquidity pools. So every buy is a buy in IMD. It got kind of technical. Go read the white paper on the docs. It's on the website. It's on the Launchpad website. So like Lesnar, I don't know if I can give you much on IMD outside of like it's very cryptic. I think they're building agentic tooling, which I'm not super bullish on right now. It hasn't picked up the narrative. I know I just said Robinhood's gonna push agentic finance. specifically agentic finance, I think. They're doing something around agents, and just agents and AI is not super hot right now in crypto, but that could change. That could change. No one knows what the NFT collection's for. Launchpad wars are kind of like no one really wants another launchpad. So unclear what they're doing, but it's one to watch. I think for sure it's one to watch and keep eyes on. Oh, he legit said Hyperliquid. Where can I find this, guys? Where can I find this Trump talking about Hyperliquid? Shit, dude. Crypto Jones. Crypto Jones asked, did you hear about Trump selling access to his tweets before he drops them? Obviously insider trading, but the SEC does nothing. Yeah, Crypto Jones, I saw that. It's freaking, it's criminal. It's criminal. There's no one can look at that and be like, oh, this is a great like entrepreneur right here doing entrepreneurial things. It's he's insider trading. He's selling insider trading signal. It's freaking criminal. So what other opinion could I have on that? Yeah, I've seen it. It's ridiculous. It should not be allowed, and it's pretty shameful, honestly. So that's what I think about that. That's what I think about that. What else am I looking at here? I think Manlet, like, again, I'm not a meme guy. I know Chill and Josh were like in this a while ago, but like, I think Manlet's pretty cheap. Again, this is the first token paired against Ansem ever. This is the first token paired against a meme coin ever, I think, if I'm correct on that and saying that. So first token paired against Ansem, they bought back and burned like 330K of Ansem token. We see this all the hype around this Ansem Launchpad wrapper, which is really just built on top of Pump Fun. And like, I think one of the tokens you can attribute the most buybacks of Ansem to, as well as like the most likely to get an Ansem shill and like kind of champion this new Launchpad of his would be like Manlet. Although I know it was launched on stocks. So I don't understand. I don't understand why this is bleeding so much, and I'm keeping eyes on it. Not positioned in it currently, but that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing. So my list of Robinhood holdings that I like right now, and I bought over the dipping period, I would say Pawns, Delta, Hooker, and I'll even add Solana. Pump Fund's really great, Credible's really great, Meteor's really great, and I like Stonk here as well. Right, so those are a bunch of trades that I'm holding and looking at that I think are all valuable. Let me go to my main watch list, see if I'm missing. Oh, cards. Yeah, cards. I do hold Kled as well. But cards, of course. Yeah, LeanFi is looking crazy too. So keep eyes on that. Just watch how that RWA on base develops, I guess. Yeah, I got you, Lesnar. The Claw Hackathon bullish for Manlet, in your opinion? I don't know if the Claw Hackathon has anything to do with Manlet, to be completely honest with you. I just think it's the hype around Ansem having everything to do with Manlet. It's the only token, or the first token paired against Ansem. I'm sure there's more now, but like, yeah, first mover, he's talked about it, I believe. I don't think the hackathon will have anything bullish for that token, but I think, yeah, Ansem generally continuing to be main character might. Yeah, boys, I think I covered it, man. I have to horse like a race piss. So I might run here and tap the head. Are you serious? You haven't dumped your Kled bag? Have I taught you nothing, Dom? No, Crypto Jones. Like literally the only Believe token I still hold is Kled, or from the Believe era, it's Kled. Yeah, I'm invested for the long run on this. I still believe it's a unicorn by the end of the year, man. Data is such a serious business, and yeah, when it becomes a unicorn, 5% of that value is on chain, up to 10%. I wouldn't benefit from it. So I'm still holding my Kled, and I hold a serious amount of Kled too, for what it's worth. There's no sellers. It's literally no sellers whatsoever. So it's paired against Solana. So if Solana goes up, Kled's going to go up. So pretty much half of this is just a Solana position. Other half being exposure to Kled, and yeah, just rocking it out, man. Rocking it out. GG's, man. GG's. Yeah, dude, been cooking on Robinhood, bro. We're getting a deal done with the terminal soon enough, boys. soon enough. And I think I'm gonna obviously with that create a public account you guys can track. Bro, y'all should see how I'm running up on Robinhood right now. Shit is nutty. Shit is nutty. It feels good to be back in the trenches again. AI, of course. We talk about Robinhood and RWA pairings and their continued push on this. This is the best beta to it. This is the best beta to it. You can't argue with the numbers. So long XYZ, of course, they've adopted AI as like really the ecosystem token. Great. Yeah, it's looking great. If you're holding, shout out Chill, shout out Josh, shout out any of you guys that got in. This one's looking fantastic, phenomenal. Let's see what Stockbrokers is doing. It was on a big dip. Okay, it's starting to bounce a little bit. Interesting. Interesting. Motion we had on the other day. Nice to see that. Again, up 10%. Everything's really going to be up 10% today because Ethereum's up 10%. So, Prolong. This is one that I was interested in. I don't know much about it. I started looking into the other day. Very cryptic. Again, very cryptic, but 450K. Keep eyes on it. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know much about it. INJOH. This is like interesting. It's a DeFi launch protocol for Robinhood tokens. I think it's like built on top of a few other launch pads. So it's not its own launch pad, but it enables stuff for other launch pads. I think with V4 hooks. I don't know, man. These V4 hook marketplaces are not very exciting. A general V4 hook marketplace is not very exciting. If you can show me a V4 hook like offering marketplace that has really great V4 hook primitives, like something like Hooker, where it's like, oh, this is actually really unique and cool and can change like the industry, I'll be locked in. But don't know if I'm super bullish on that. Stack NFT collection on Robinhood. I believe Manser is as well. Or no, this is AI trading or something. Jeez, that chart looks brutal. This was Virtual's launch. Yeah, I don't know. All right, boys. I got to call it here, though. You boys got to run to the bathroom. Anything to do with Ansem, I will invest. I will invest in. He is the main character of cryptocurrency. Claw Pump, although a lot to do with AI, I think will do well. Pull up Claw Pump chart thing is a work of beauty. Yeah, actually, great point. What am I doing here, guys? Let me pull up Claw. We had our guest on today. How can I not? Poor hospitality by myself here. Yeah, Claw. I mean, this is a pretty good looking chart. All things considered, everything is bleeding or a lot is bled. This is holding up really nicely. Again, candlestick here, relatively compressed, right? So lack of sellers. When do buyers step in and find value in it? We've gotten spikes here with Ansem tweeting about it, talking about it. And I think the only thing about this is like every tweet from Ansem, we're going to see diminished outcome. It carries less value. And so at some point, it's going to carry no value for Ansem to retweet the same thing or talk about Claw Pump. So just keep that in mind. That's like, I think, a very fair critique and something you want to look out for. Now, clearly they're working closely with Solana. I think that was the most interesting takeaway. Like Solana's making a push towards AI, right? And clearly Claw Pump's going to be like their agentic finance, a platform, an agentic finance platform they're going to work closely with. I think that's the most bullish thing I heard today on Claw. Numbers look like they've slowed down quite a bit. Just looking for those numbers to kind of pick back up again. But yeah, one to watch for sure. I think the team's good. They're working hard. Great connections, as we know. Yeah. So that's, I think I'm going to call it there again. Just looking at my delta position here because it looks so freaking good. Thoughts about clock and launch today? AMP, something I can get back to you with tomorrow on stream because I don't know too much about it. I know the Launchpad had a few different launches coming. But I don't know anything about it. I haven't followed it. So tomorrow I can get back with you with a more thorough answer. But if you have some TLDR, feel free to drop it. Boys, gentlemen, I wish I could pop up your comments on the chat. I hate looking side to side here. You guys are rocking out in the Twitter chat, so I appreciate your activity. It really helps us do our job. Like, it helps so much when we can go back and forth and just riff. For sure. So I love it. What's your most underrated lay right now? What's my most underrated play right now? Foo, I actually think it's going to be Hooker. I think I actually think it's going to be Hooker if the storyline can get perpetuated and if V4 hooks and Robinhood continues to go strong. I think this is like I think Genuinely what Hooker is building with leveraged liquidity positions is one of the biggest innovations I've seen with liquidity ever. So I do think Hooker is probably the best layup right now, or the best play right now. But it could also just bleed to zero. I have told you what I don't like about it. 2 tokens is not it ever. Hasn't ever been. So like I'll be based in my take here. I think Hooker has the most upside on being like redefining narrative. If people latch onto it, they're, I could see everyone on Twitter talking about new liquidity primitive. Why are liquidity pools like they are? Why can they only facilitate swaps, and why can they not do all the things Hooker is enabling? It's a genius thought. It's a genius thought and concept, frankly. And so like that's why I think it has the upside. And again, this would purely be based on, again, the attention play, rather than, they're probably not going to make a lot of money when it starts off, but the attention, the excitement, the new primitive could be enough to fuel this to multi millions. Not even joking. I'm not a moon boy at all. So yeah, Hooker's probably my most underrated play right now, I would say, that I'm in. But of course, like, we're trading these things. I will change my views day in, day out if something materially changes. And of course, like I said, downside being maybe it's too complex for people to understand. I don't think that's the case. I think we can simplify it enough. I think the bank analogy is really, really good. But is Hooker too complex for people to understand, or are people going to have too short-sighted vision on it, or 3, it just gains no traction? Like, it's great in theory, everyone believes in it, but then they launch and no one actually takes the steps to integrate it into their launch pad or set up LP pools with it. They're going to have to do some of that themselves, truthfully. They're going to have to assume no one else does and do it themselves to prove it out. And really, I want to see it on Cashcat. I want to see it on Pawns. I want to see it on the protocols that matter. So Hooker's got the most upside, equally as much room to go wrong. But I think the RR is really good in the sense that it could go up from 400, 500K, that's out right now, to 5 million plus. Whereas downside, at least for the short term, is what, 250K? So, whatever. I wanted to end the stream on a 10% pump on Ethereum's day today, but it looks like if I take this candle from open to top, it was at 10% up on one point during the stream. I said, I want to see Ethereum 10% up before we end the stream. So I'll take that. Are you currently bought in on Claw Pump, or have you just not seen enough DeFi and Hooker? Definitely in on Hooker. Okay, good. I don't hold Claw Pump, no. Just because these are trades, and there hasn't been attention there for a while. And so if I'm taking my long-term portfolio, it's in Meteora, it's in Pump Fund, it's in high revenue generating protocols that have been that have long, sustainable, provable shelf lives. And if I'm taking my trading bag, it's going where attention is, which right now has been in recent days, the Ansem stuff, Z500, and I haven't really been trading those, but Robinhood, some of the new stonked off fund launches, where attention is. I don't want to park my money, or the money that I want parked is already parked. So that's why I'm not in Claw. But I love what they're doing, and if attention starts flowing back there, I am monitoring it very closely. If we start seeing the volume uptick again, attention starts coming back, I would not hesitate to buy. Yep. All right, guys. Leaving you with that, guys. If you haven't already, I just want to remind you, MCG is live Monday through Friday, building some really cool stuff. We are on top of every single narrative, and we try to provide as much value as possible. Discord is jumping. You guys are rocking it out. Guys in the chat are rocking out. Great turnout today. RJ, Dakota, Crypto Jones, Fu, Spank, Lesnar, Top Fumbler. Yo, appreciate you guys as always. Do us a favor, if you're not already, 14.3K followers. Looks like we're up about 22, 25 followers today. Growth has been pretty incredible. Make sure you're following. Make sure you turn that bell on, get those notifications going, and stay up to date. We're live Monday through Friday. Today, another banger stream. Again, if you haven't already, like and retweet this just so people know we're live, because we did have some really good conversations. All the recordings are coming up. Follow YouTube. YouTube's got a lot of the recordings there. Our content lead has been out of town, so we might have a big backlog to upload. But yeah, you know the drill. I actually think X is down right now. My Twitter Pro just crashed. So peace, guys. As always, appreciate you, man. We got a banger rest of the week going, and things are getting exciting. So we're going to tune in, talk markets every day. No stop in sight. Peace.